Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Age of Empires 4 casted show match, and it's going to be between the Mista and demuslim with the new DLC, the new downloadable content for Age of Empires 4, featuring two new civilizations, the Ottomans and the Malians. It's going to be a fantastic show. 5 games, we're going to be playing all 5 games, so lots of content to get through today and lots of games. Going to be some interesting matchups, not just featuring the two new civilizations, but we will be showcasing some matchups between new civilizations and some of the old ones that we've come to know and love in Age of Empires 4. So what we will do, we'll be going straight into game number 1, which will be on Dry Arabia. I'm certainly looking forward to this one. And we're going to have lots of good games, I feel. I'm very optimistic. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 1 between the demuslim and the Mista. With demuslim spawning in the north corner of the map on Dry Arabia, playing as the Malians. And in the south, we have got the Mista playing in blue as the Ottomans. Dry Arabia is the map. We're getting the show match underway. We're going to have 5 matches today, so I'm certainly looking forward to this epic show match between two fantastic Age of Empires 4 players. Going to be showcasing these two new civilizations, with the Malians being quick to get that pit mine. Of course, we'll be looking to get that passive gold income, getting those houses as well. Now, each house actually gives a population of 5 for the Malians, as opposed to what you'd normally expect for the other civilizations being 10. And plenty of villagers on sheep. Going to get that food. Of course, food and gold, the main resources you need to get up to the next stage. That food ledge, which both players will be looking to get. And we see a couple of villagers on gold here already for the Mist, of course. Going to go for 4. He's got 7 villagers on food, so it'll be really interesting to see as time progresses how the build orders emerge, how the pro players decide to actually play these two civilizations. And, well, we're going to have a sneak peek today with this show match between the Mista and the demuslim. Just the one scout being chosen to be played with here. Demuslim is taking a couple of arrow fires there, but of course won't lose that scout. And same with the Mista. Both players opting for one scout. It's kind of the meta these days at the moment, getting just a singular scout to get as many sheep as possible. But I'm super excited to see these two new civilizations and the game mechanics that will be involved as we see the Mista going up to the next stage. Depending, it'd be interesting to see what landmark he chooses. It's going to go for the twin minaret madrasa, but it's going to be giving the Ottomans a mill essentially, and enables them to grow 4 berry bushes, which can be harvested at 50% faster rate, which is fantastic. And their berry bushes actually regrown after 120 seconds if depleted, so it is technically an infinite source of food. What's interesting is I think this was his original berry bush, so it'd be pretty cool to see where the berries are actually built when the landmark or where they spawn when the landmark is built. Going to be using here 4 villagers to build that landmark, so using pretty standard build orders for a generic civ. Of course, the Muslim have opting or having to really change the kind of build order because they have access to the pit mine, passively generating that gold. 75 gold per minute, so effectively the equivalent of 2 villagers on that gold. Not too terrible at all. As we go for the Mansa quarry here for the Muslim, playing as the Malians, which generates 75 gold per minute, but can also be told to generate stone instead. So could be getting 150 gold per minute from these two structures as he progresses to the feudal age. But this is super interesting, the Mansa quarry, because much like other civilizations like the Rus, for example, you can kind of hide the fact that you might be opting for a second town center. If he toggles this to stone, obviously it'll be delayed, it won't be instant, but it'll take about a couple of minutes and then you'll be able to afford a second town center. But alternatively, having stone could mean that he could drop a keep defensively or aggressively once he reaches the castle age, if he so wishes to save up for a keep with that stone. But of course, gold would help him get up to the castle age himself, and the Malians are pretty heavy on that gold in terms of the units costs, so it'd be interesting to see how he plays this. The mill going down for demuslim. I definitely like the new skins. It's actually looking so nice here. The fact that it's just different from the other civilizations going on the berry patches then. With the twin minaret madrasa, you can probably see where the berries are, but it looks like they're on the other side. Oh no, okay, no, these are the... Wait, are these the new ones? I think this might be his original ones then. Don't know if that was there on the map before. Might have been, may have just missed it. We see a stable opening here coming out from Mista. Going to be looking to get some feudal aggression, and behind that a second town centre. But I hope you guys are enjoying the casted content that I'm putting out there on YouTube at the moment. And if you're watching on the live stream, welcome. Hope you are all doing very well. And if you're watching the VOD afterwards, not on the live stream itself, thank you for sticking around and choosing to watch this video. You could have been watching anything else. You chose to stick around on this Age of Empires 4 channel, as we see a stable opening here for demuslim as well with the Malians. And we'll be looking at some of the units here. We can see the Sipahi being trained here for the Mista, which is an interesting unit. It's kind of like a halfway between... let's just take a quick look at the tooltip. It's a fast cavalry, effective at raiding. Of course, it's got that movement speed, and it's almost like their horsemen, essentially. And the high movement speed is actually really quite effective for the Ottomans here. You can see he's making his way across the map pretty damn fast. They do also have the mehter, which is a unique unit for the Ottomans, which can support the other military units. This isn't actually a unit that has a weapon as itself. It's a war drummer, and you can toggle different abilities with this mehter to increase the capabilities or kind of bonuses that your army will have. As he spots the stone outcropping being mined there, so both players looking for that second town centre, which is very much the meta type play at the moment, to get that second town centre, to get the economy rolling into the feudal age. Okay, now just a quick reminder, this show match is sponsored and hosted by EGC TV, a fantastic channel for Age of Empires 4 content, and do check them out on their Twitch channel. They do a lot of live streams of Age of Empires 4 content. Obviously the Road to Red Bull Wallow is hosted by them, and they're pretty much a cornerstone of the Age of Empires 4 online competitive scene community. As we see the second town centre coming out for the Mista on the Deer Patch, and the second town centre going there for demuslim on the right side on that wood line. Right, looking good, looking good. Hey, Elvino Trading, what's up there in the chat? Hope you're doing well. All good, all good. Just taking a look at the new civilisations again. Some more casted content. Looking forward to this show match between these two players. There are going to be 5 matches, so lots of games for us to feast our eyes on and see how these two players play this out. But looks like a very passive opening for both players. Really kind of doubling down on that eco and getting the second town centre. As we can see, oh, new berry patches coming out. So actually, so this is the original berry patch they had, and it just spawns all the way around. It looks very, very nice there, the twin madrasa. It's very, very good indeed. As we see the military school coming out for the Ottomans, very interesting building. It costs wood and stone, but it can be assigned to produce a single type of unit continuously at no cost for free, which is fantastic. Very, very nice. Question is, do you know whether the DLC is geo-restricted? It shouldn't be, mustn't be. Patch not available in Switzerland? Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, it has to be on Steam, I know that much, I believe. I believe it has to be played on Steam. Do check on the official website to see how you can actually activate it, because it may not be... You do have to change a few settings. It's quite quick and easy, but you do have to change a few settings to actually activate the live build for the new DLC. It's not just usual click and play. There are a few buttons you've got to press, but not that many. As we see a couple of the Sipahi going towards burning down the pit mine. I hope that helps, Elvino. Let me know if it does or doesn't. As we see a couple of warrior scouts coming out for the Malians. Now what's interesting for the Malians is that they can actually get the scout upgraded, so they can get veterancy for that, and can go all the way up to elite. So we could see some shenanigans, especially if the hands of the Mista. Obviously he's not playing the Malians in this first game, in game number 1, but we've seen Mista go for a couple of landmark snipes in high level tournaments before, and it's worked. So you know, he might be looking for using those elite scout warriors. That'd be pretty cool if he does. So we see a double military school coming out, and the blacksmith actually supervised, or not supervised, but kind of boosts the production speed of the military school. As you can see, within the influence, the military unit production rate is increased, and especially with the influence, if it's within the influence of the blacksmith or a university, and the Istanbul Observatory increases the bonus by 60%, which is rather large. We see a couple of these Sofa coming out for the Malians. Can be denying some of the gold villages, kind of pushing and poking and prodding. Let's take a look at the Sofa up, because that's an interesting unit specifically for the Malians. It's a cheaper heavy cavalry for reduced health and armor. Now it's kind of a halfway house between a horseman and a knight. It's got a cheaper cost. It does have a very high movement speed itself, so it's an interesting one because it's countered by spearman and crossbow. So it's kind of like a heavy armored unit, but it's got the heavy movement speed and it's cheaper. It will be interesting to see the tool tips and the stats comparing it to a knight later on in the game if we see some knights, as we see a couple of the Sipahi just going around the gold mine, preventing the mining of the gold easily for demuslim. Now, one thing to bear in mind, the Sipahi does have fortitude as an activated kind of ability that they have, which increases the attack speed by 50% and receives 50% damage from melee units, from melee weapons though, for 10 seconds. So it's got an attack speed, but it does receive some damage, so it's pretty good against arch units. If you've got a ball of archers, you can activate that and take them out very, very quickly. As you see, demuslim getting the berries here in a very exposed area. Only has 2 of these softwares there to protect those villages. We see one villager go down. We should end up seeing... Oh, no, he survives. Oh, there's a bit of a mismicro there for the Mista, not getting that killed in the end. Missed out on that kill, but in any case, both players are starting to wall up here. Palisade walling to the left of the edge of the map for the Mista. But what's so nice, as you can see, the Mista constantly getting military units out on the field without having to spend any resources to do so. That's not the fastest thing in the world, but every little bit helps as the villagers do garrison inside the town centre. We'll be getting quite a bit of damage on the warrior scout, but that scout tanked a lot of damage there from the town centre. That one was likely to go down now. Does indeed. And, it's a fight that Mista can probably take here, and it's going to be safe taking that gold again. As you can see, he's probably opting for that second town centre. Sorry, the second age rather, castle age, because it looks like he's got plenty of food. He's got a decent amount of gold himself as well. As we see the units going around on the west side now, as a third town centre coming out for the Mista, really playing it greedy on the eco. Interesting choice to do so. So that town centre is now being built with 10 villagers. And going up to the castle age as well. The Istanbul Imperial Palace, the build order looking fantastic for the Mista. I think I have to break this game down afterwards because, holy smokes, he's really fast up to the castle age, has to be said, as the second pit mine does come down there for demuslim on the north. Is actually walling up on the east side as well. It's surprising how much he's been able to afford, as we see a third stable coming down for demuslim, but looking to get up to the castle age himself. But the Mista having such a fast uptime. Let's take a look at the Istanbul Imperial Palace whilst it's being built. Doubles the Imperial Council experience around the landmark and increases the Vizier point by +2. Now the Vizier point system is very interesting for the Ottomans. They've got these technologies that they can research. As you can see, you've got Anatolian hills, got some extra sheep there by spending some points, and will be interesting to see how he decides to spend the next couple of points. As you can see, he can unlock one more. What has he gone for? He's gone for fieldwork, spawning 2 imams. This is so interesting as a build order. You can see exactly what his thought process is. He's getting 2 imams, he's up to the castle age, and that means he'll be able to actually pick up some relics on the map. And the Muslim playing the Ottomans incredibly... Sorry, the Mista rather, playing the Ottomans incredibly nicely here. As he does get to that castle age, and look at the imams. They're going to be going out straight away. Let's just see where they are. Where are those imams? Are they already away? Yeah, they're already out and about. Look at that, he's already out and about, trying to get those relics and give some really nice power spike into the castle age. Bit of a timing thing there for the Mista, getting there nice and early to pick up some of those relics. And the third town centre as well means his village count will be looking pretty healthy. 63 for the Mista, 60 for demuslim, so he's not far behind. As he goes for the Farimba garrison, demuslim looking to get the military out. He's sticking with the 2 town centres so far. The Farimba garrison enables the quick production of barracks and archery range units 5 at a time. The cost is also converted to gold and reduced by 20%, so this is why the Malians can be a very gold heavy civilization. The units from that landmark only cost gold, and they do have that 20% discount, and it can pump out those units pretty quickly. Kind of reminds you a bit about the Burgher Palace for the Holy Roman Empire, as we see knights entering the field for the Ottomans. These guys look incredible. Let's actually take a look at the stats composition or comparison between a knight. As you can see, he's got 230 health, 36 attack, versus the Sipahi, which has 135 health and 9 attack. So you can see the Sipahi incredibly, well, a lot weaker compared to the knight, as expected. Let's take a look at the software though. 155 health and 16 attack. So you can see 16 attack, pretty decent there. Certainly better than the Sipahi. You see quite a lot of outposts here protecting the deer patch with arrow slits and placements as well, and spring order placements, I believe. Really wants to protect that food economy, doesn't want to take any risks there. You see a knight heading forward on his own, getting scouting information more than anything else. As time goes on, the villager lead will start to build up here for Mista. Already 77 versus 68, as we see a couple of knights here heading towards those villages. A lot of the villagers trying to garrison inside, but some of them may go down before they enter. A lot of them do survive. Don't forget, textiles is in play for demuslim and the Malians, as they do have another technology they can research from the town centre. Banco repairs, where buildings are repaired 100% faster. Now this does actually still work on siege units as well, so bear that in mind. This technology, Banco repairs, means that villagers can repair siege units 100% faster as well. So if you thought the repairing system for repairing siege was broken, Well, I mean, if you get this, then it's going to be pretty crazy, that's for sure. Army is starting to build up here, though, for the Malians. Go for veteran archers. Quite a few warrior scouts onto the field. With the warrior scouts, it'd be interesting if he did go for professional scouts. I mean, there is quite a few deer patches there. He's got quite a few warrior scouts as well. Not just 2 actually so far. Most of them are Sofa. They've got the veterancy upgrade as well. Now we can see the military school is toggled on spears, archers. 2 of them are on archers. 3 of them are archers. So certainly the Mista opted for quite a decent number of archers here onto the field, being trained in the military school. Let's have 3 stables as well to produce from if he so wishes, as he does also have 2 relics in the bank. And that's what we discussed earlier, going up to the next stage and using the vizier points to get 2 free imams. Was a pretty nice play, nice strategy there for the Mista. We know the Mista as a strategy connoisseur. He's certainly one of the minds that is great in Age of Empires for coming up with strategies like that. And certainly that's one of the vizier points you want to start thinking about using when you get up to the castle age to get those 2 free imams. And he used the, I think it's called the Anatolian Hills, getting those sheep as well to really boost that economy. Alrighty. Okay, there's a message in chat. I like the stream. The video quality is not great. Oh, that's rather surprising. I'll just double check the settings then. It should be 1080p. A bit odd if it's not, but I will double check that for you. Let me know if anyone else is having problems on the stream itself for these casted games. I would like to know if it's on my end or others. The bitrate is certainly very good. Okay, a couple of veteran Sofa coming out here on the right side as well. Coming towards the south, going to be looking to do some damage. We see we keep going up here for the Mista. Going to offer him a lot of protection, especially on that woodline which has been raided. Of course, he's moved over to the western woodline, going heavy on stone as well, still staying heavy on stone. So we'll potentially be able to look to get a second keep on the map as well. Does have enough stone for a second keep as well, actually. Maybe looking to get a good amount of map control. Maybe on a sacred site, walling up the sides on the east as well. It's now in the middle. A couple of knights there going towards a veteran Sofa. Might be the case that Mista takes an engagement here. He's charging in with his knights. Decides to back off, at least for now. Keep looking amazing for the Ottomans, as you can see. We get up close and personal. I definitely like the architecture of the new civilisations. They are looking fantastic for me. Especially the Malians in particular, but the Ottomans, look at that. Looks like a beautiful structure. So we need to focus now onto the action. There's a villager that might go down there to the wolf. A large army here building up for demuslim, heading towards the middle of the map, looking to be aggressive now. He knows he's kind of on a timer because the villager lead will be in the favour of the Mista being on 3 town centre. demuslim on 2 town centre means that he will need to be the one being aggressive, and he will need to be the one taking the initiative, as he is doing so, going up with the veteran Sofa, veteran archers as well. Oh, the keep's not going up in time on the right side. All the villagers, they will go up in the end, but might lose a couple of villagers. There's a garrison inside the keep, so not terrible timing for the Mista. Could have been better. Will lose a couple of villagers, does have some villagers to spare compared to his opponent. Need to garrison. Lower the eco will be idled now, but we need to see where the army is here for the Mista. He went here on the west side, looking to get raiding damage of his own. demuslim is aware of it. He sees it with their outposts, and the concern for demuslim is that he doesn't necessarily have that many units that can siege these buildings down. Has predominantly archers as the knights head through and get a lot more villager kills, you feel. Looks like the raiding damage a lot more better for the Mista. As the villagers retreat behind the walls, spearmen coming out here, the Donso rather. So the Malians have access to the Donso, which is a spearman equivalent. And we see quite a few villagers going to have to garrison in that capital town centre, but not too much in the way of villager kills here for demuslim. Let's pick off one out just outside the twin minaret. Idling a lot of the farming economy now though. Both players look to be aggressive, but the concern for the Mista is that demuslim is fully walled, so he has to bring his army back home as he heads towards the keep, and the villagers will be going down now. Knights are heading back home, but trouble for demuslim. He's got so many archers, and there's no real counter to the heavy cavalry here. There's no Donso here where he needs it, and this is a problem for demuslim. He's going to lose everything. He dived a little bit too deeply there without having too much in the way of siege of taking production buildings down, and this is the problem for demuslim. He's got no real access to reinforcements coming here on the right side with a couple of units, a couple of veteran Sofa, but they're not going to be coming to the rescue. They're just chilling out. The knights circle those archers. Wait, where are they going? The Knights just turn around, salvage them in a little bit, and the Muslim will lose everything here, and that's not necessarily what he wanted. Lost a lot of military, and it does mean now that Mr. has a lot of units on the field, and Mangina on the field as well, taking out what's left of those archers, and the Muslim is going to be under pressure very, very quickly. Does have 44 military on the field though somehow still. He's got them back home defending and protecting his economy. Got a bit of raiding damage. Let's take a look at the village count. 104 for the Mr, 87 for the Muslim. All things considered, pretty even as they started off, but the concern is the heavy cavalry coming forward for the Mr. These are premium units, high cost gold units. And the Muslim is still sticking with the archer line, and that's not going to cut it against these knights. The archers will only tickle the units, and the Mr opting for that kind of classic army composition of knights and archers. And there it is. The Mr takes game number one. The Muslim taps out, and it was kind of bit of an anticlimactic ending, but it kind of made sense because the Mr was so far ahead in military and economy, and the Muslim taps out of game number one. And let's head over to the main overlay where we'll just have a look at the kind of civilizations that we're going to have coming up next, because we will be having in game number 2 the Malians versus the Ottomans again, of course, except this time round things are going to be switched up. So game number 1 went in the favor of the Mr. So we're going to be having another 4 games after this with the civilizations switched around, and it was a nice starting point for this show match with the Mr. coming in with 3 town centers, building up that economy lead, just converting that military, well, building the military because of that economy lead that he had. And the Muslim did kind of dive in a little bit too deeply with those archers, and he lost a critical mass of them. Kind of struggled to come back from that. I'm certainly looking forward to game number 2, which will look to be on the map Lipany. Alrighty, as we load into the next game, I hope you guys are doing well, enjoying the live stream. Hello there, Frankscape. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing very well, thank you. We did have a query earlier about the quality of the stream and how it was. For me, I've just checked on my mobile and it seems to be a good quality. Let me know if the quality of the stream in terms of the visuals aren't quite right. We are loading up into game number 2, and it's going to be on Lipany with the civilizations reversed. And here we go, we're going to head right in. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 from this show match between the Muslim and the Mr. With the Mr in the north playing in green as the Malians this time, and the Muslim in the south playing in blue as the Ottomans. The map being Lipany. It will certainly be a cool map to test out these 2 new civilizations. Of course, with 2 new civilizations, new DLC means that we'll be having a lot more strategies coming out, a lot more new gameplay mechanics, and what better way to test those out with 2 fantastically gifted and quality Age of Empires 4 players in the Mr. and the Muslim. And the Mr. going to be showing up with the Malians this time, and going to be looking to get those houses around the gold vein, and of course putting that pit mine there to get that gold passively. And I'm interested to see how the Muslim decides to play the Ottomans this time round on Lipany as he starts to bring those sheep back. Let's take a look at the number of scouts. It should be 1 for both players. It usually is on this matchup in this meta so far. It is indeed the case. Just 1 scout for each player. Right, we're going to be getting the pit mine, and of course now within the influence of the house does mean that the efficiency will increase. As you can see, it has been boosted there a little bit, because the gold extraction for the pit mines is increased by 30% for each house or mine built within the influence. So certainly you want to build those houses. And what's interesting for the Malians, as we discussed in game number 1, is that each house actually only gives you 5 extra population, and that means you can obviously build more. It has half the cost associated with them as well. It really is geared up towards getting as many houses around the pit mines as you can to really bolster the gold amount that you get trickling in. 4 villagers on that gold vein though. Quite a few villagers gathering that food as we expect. Pretty standard build here for a Ottoman player, as we've discovered so far. The Muslim opening up their game just as the Mr. did. Now, looking at Lipany, it is pretty important to think about sacred sites, and really this central sacred site does kind of favour the Mr, has to be said. On the west side, on the east side, pretty evenly spread, and in terms of relics, There is one right at the back here for the Mista. Nice and safe for him. It's unlikely demuslim will have a sniff of that. We need to focus on this one here on the west side, which is a little bit more contestable for the Mista, but is still very much in the range of the Muslim's base there. And two on the right, one on the left. Those three are pretty evenly spread. Overall, things pretty consistently fair on the red X, although this one's a little bit not as good as the one that Mista has on the north. As a scout does actually end up finding that now, discovering it in nice and early. And I'll be interested to see if the Vizier points have been gathered there by demuslim just yet, and has he spent it? Hasn't indeed, not got one yet. I'm sure he will soon. See a little progress the bar there at the bottom there, just above the points score. As that gets full, I'm sure we'll be getting some points there. As the Mantle Quarry is going to be used by the Mista this time as well. He'll be getting that 75 gold per minute, or stone, depending on what he wants to choose from. And there is going to be the Twin Minaret Madrasa coming out for demuslim. So both players opting for the same landmarks to get to the feudal age. As we see, demuslim now sending some villagers over to that stone mine, getting that second town centre, most likely. And it could be the case that the Mista want to pressurise that, because that is far forward, that stone mine. Not the most safe stone in the world. Using 4 villagers to build up that Mansa quarry there. Alrighty, just another friendly reminder. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream, and if you're watching on the VOD, welcome. Don't forget that if you do enjoy Age of Empires 4 content, I've got plenty on the channel and more coming up, that's for sure. So do think about hitting that like button and subscription to the channel if you so wish to get more updates of content coming out. As we do now reach to that feudal age for demuslim. Going up with that Twin Minaret Madrasa, getting wheelbarrow as well. So this is quite a nice feature of this landmark. You don't have to build a separate mill. You can this landmark effectively is a mill, and it's going to be getting that wheelbarrow nice and early. Now in the north, the Mist are going to be edging towards that landmark to get to the feudal age. It does feel like the Ottomans can get up to the next stage pretty quickly. Of course, the Mista does have that gold income coming in from the pit mine, but it's a little bit of an interesting one because there is a discussion to be had, like whether you send villagers to the pit mine as well to gather gold, rather than just rely on the passive income. And he does have 2 villagers on gold anyway. Of course, the builders will be looking to be optimized as the Mista gets an early market. That is an interesting play. He decides to put a market right next to the town centre, and I wonder why he's opted to do that. He's surely not going to start trading, is he? Not in a 1v1 game. I wonder what that's about. Maybe looking to balance his economy just a little bit. That's rather surprising. Could he be... he could potentially be using the gold and trading and buying things for it. I mean, does he have... interesting. I'm not entirely sure. I was playing this one out. I think he bought the second town centre. That is super interesting, guys. I think he sold some wood. No, he just probably bought it rather than mining it. That is super interesting. That means this is the starting of a new build order for the Mista and the Malians. As you can see, the 2 town centre opening using the market. That is a very interesting way to play this. It's certainly not something I've seen before, but let me know in the chat if you have. In the comment section below as well, if you're watching the VOD later. Let me know if you've ever seen anything like that. The Mista opting to really take advantage of the gold income that he gets and buying the stone. As you can see, getting 218 gold per minute. It doesn't even have any villagers on that gold vein because of the Mansa quarry and the pit mine. But just as the Rus can kind of hide that second town centre, well, kind of feels like the Malians can do as well. But I suppose if you scout out the market as games progresses, the meta gets established. If you see a market for the Malians, you have to think, could it be a second town centre? Because that's the way the Mista's playing this one out. Getting that second town centre towards that gold vein as well. Protecting the area at the back of his base. As we see, in terms of production buildings, not a lot coming out for demuslim just yet. Playing Aussie Ottomans, getting the second town centre on the Deer Patch on the west. Doing for a third town centre as well. So demuslim going to be playing this greedy with the Ottomans. Not so much greedy, but in a similar way that the Mista did in the previous game number 1. We see a cattle ranch, a couple of cattle ranches popping out here for the Mista, and the mill can produce these cattle's 100 gold, but each cattle itself actually has 500 food in them to be taken. So it's It's actually quite nice for, you know, the amount of conversion that you have. 100 gold for effectively 500 food. But the cattle ranch is an interesting structure, that's for sure, because cattle garrisoned inside the ranch will generate 28 gold per minute. And it's a nice bit of passive food income there, but obviously the villagers can take the cattle as well if he so wishes. Quite a nice conversion there, 100 gold for 500 food. Considering the deer carcasses themselves only have 350. I think the Mista might be actually getting the cows towards the town centres. As you can see, the village is going to be gathering food from there. And most importantly, it's a very, very safe source of food. And if the speed of gathering is still 40 food per minute per villager, it's still faster than berries. As you can see, the Mista walling up quite extensively on the right side. Does have two gold veins here that could potentially put pit mines in later on in the game. We see some villagers heading towards the west now, walling up that west side and can be in front of that gold vein as well. Again, we'll be able to get a pit mine on there should he wish to as the game progresses. And it's going to be a military school coming out for demuslim, the first one. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. I hope you're enjoying yourself and having a good time on the stream so far. As you see, more cattle being garrisoned inside the cattle ranch. There are 3 town centres for the Ottomans. The village count will start to steadily rise and increase beyond what the Mista is capable of producing. As we see, the Mista on 39 villages, 40 versus 43 there for demuslim. He's starting to wall up here now, the Mista wants to protect himself closer towards the town centre. Demuslim will be aware of this, sending a scout there. Let's have a look, because it looks like demuslim's itching closer to that castle age as well. Has plenty of food in the bank. And it's probably because of the berries, although he only has 3 villages on the berries. It's kind of because of the deer and the 3 town centres. The 2 town centres on the deer patch means that the food income is going to be pretty crazy here for demuslim. You might need to start focusing a bit more on gold to get to that castle age. Hello, hello, Master the Templar. Yep, it is. The game's casted and also hosted by EGC TV. Big shout out to them. As you see, a lot of villagers going to gold now for demuslim. We'll have that transition to the castle age. Missed a little bit lagging behind. The Ottomans do have very nice uptime. Let's just take a look at the vizier points and how demuslim has opted to spend that. Whether it was the same. In fact, he's already got 1 vizier point that hasn't spent. I don't know if that's an oversight or if he's just waiting. He's probably just waiting to be able to use the one to get the imams out, the fieldwork one. Could certainly be the case. I hope you guys are all enjoying the new civilisations, the new DLC. I certainly am. And they do have 2 new Art of War missions as well, 1 for each civilization. I have actually uploaded my playthrough for that on the YouTube channel. They're actually really fun. I found them very helpful as well to try and understand the civilisations in their terms of the strengths that they have. There's certainly one to check out if you have the game. We see a couple of Sipahi coming out here for demuslim on the 2 military schools. But the Mista fully walled up here now. Question is, going to be staying with the 2 town centres. He's going to go with the Farimba garrison. It looks like Mista's actually going to get up to the next stage quicker. He did rush it up with about 10 villagers though. You know, demuslim is using 10 villagers himself, so I was a bit surprised by the uptime by Mista, but he really got there fast. And going up with the Istanbul Imperial Palace are the Ottomans. And should be able to get that Imperial Council to have better experience and get those vizier points coming in. As we can see, the vizier points being spent on the 2 imams. Going to be looking to get those relics now that he's in the castle age. A couple of Sipahi breaking through. He's not fully walled up here. The Mista has walled up to the town centre. But a couple of these units won't really mind running underneath the town centre, to be totally honest. And so Mista might want to try and look to wall that up, especially because he's invested so much wood in the palisade walls elsewhere. As we see, speaking of wood, the Muslim now just relocating his Woolumba camp. Good evening, Mr. Sith, rather, in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Hope you are having a good evening. As we see another gold pit mine extension for the Malians, and we're really interested to see how much gold the Mist is coming in now with 1,000 in gold per minute. That is a little bit crazy. Gonna get a mosque of his own, maybe to contest some of those relics. Need to do it quickly though, because the Ottomans are getting 2 relics in quite nicely and quickly now. Yeah, can we heading towards the stealth forest? That scout unfortunately won't be able to take care of that imam. He's going to be carrying in that big heavy relic back to the mosque. One relic is now deposited for the Ottomans, being played by demuslim. Look at the cattle ranch that the Mista has. Holy moly, what's the food income per minute? Only 500 odd though. But of course, that's passive income that's coming. You don't have to... This is super interesting because villages aren't being spent for this food income coming in right now. And as you can see, the Mista actually only relying on the cattle for food. He's literally not got a single villager on food right now. It's a really interesting game mechanic. As I said, that he does start to build a mill here on the deer patch. A couple of Sipahi using their movement speed there. Let's take a look at how fast these guys are. 1.88 tiles per second. The scout only 1.62, so the scout certainly can't be running away from the Sipahi. As we see now, an extension of the walls for the Mista beyond the sacred site. Looking to get access to that. Maybe getting a scholar or an imam there soon. Certainly love the architecture for the Malians here. And this is super interesting as a game mechanic because don't forget, this pit mine is still gathering 82 gold per minute. It never runs out. It's effectively infinite. And I really do like the Malians as a civilization. I do feel they're very strong at the moment. Ottomans have a very interesting game mechanic with the viziers though, that's for sure. See now, a couple of Sipahi trying to burn down those palisades. Take more than 3 to burn them down anytime soon. Accompanied by these other Sipahi. Quite a nice large group of them as Imam does start to come back with another relic. Has 2 in the bank already. And the Mista needs to be careful not to give up too many of those relics. He's given away 3 already. There's still a 4th here that the Mista will want to try and protect and defend. You see now the Mista heading forward with a veteran Donso and javelin throwers. Now, what I will say to you guys is that from my early testing and playing and casting of this game with the 2 new civilizations, I'm going to say it now, this army composition of veteran javelin throwers and Donso is incredibly strong. And let me tell you why, because the veteran Donso is effectively the spearman, which is a standard unit to have. It's good against armored cavalry or cavalry entirely. The veteran javelin throwers, now this is an interesting one because when you see spearmen on the field, or Donso in this case, really what you want to do as the opponent, you want to get archers yourself, or you want to get mangonels, something to counter those spearmen. The trouble is archers are out of the window because these javelin throwers are a direct counter to archers, and so really you're stuck with just one option to get rid of the Donso, and that is mangonels. And if Mista with the Malians can just have something to snipe the mangonels, whether it be springalds or whether it be some of the cavalry units, some scouts, then it's so difficult to deal with these javelin throwers. There's actually a very interesting balance to the game because in terms of counters to archers, the javelin thrower is a very unique one. Of course you have horsemen, but every civilization tends to get horsemen. Only the Malians get the access to the javelin throwers. And I've seen them in action against archers, they really do rip through them. So you can see those archers and the Donso heading towards the west now, going to take down that gold vein, I'm sure. 3 rams accompanying. Villagers not reacting, demuslim not reacting, might lose all of them. He needs at least 2, maybe in a third. Just loses 2 so far. As you can see, mangonels are coming out, and that's really the counter that you can have here. One thing has to be brought into consideration though, is that the mangonels do counter both these infantry units. Hello Nerfuna, welcome to the chat, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Casting some of those games from the show match between demuslim and the Mista, looking at these 2 new civilizations, which I'm really enjoying exploring and discovering the new meta and the game mechanics, and I'm super excited to see what Mista does in particular, because as you can see in this game in particular, the theory crafting for this gentleman is fantastic. Coming out with that second town centre by trading for it in the market, recognizing that gold is pretty strong as an income source for the Malians, and spending that extra gold on the second town centre, keeping it hidden as it were, or semi-hidden. But I think really now if you come against the Malians, you've got to be anticipating a second town centre if you see a market. As you see now, a bit of an engagement. That outpost now on fire with 3 rams retreating. The 2 mangonels doing enough there for demuslim to push the army back. This is where springalds are going to become important. We discussed it earlier. This is where things become very tricky. If the Mista and the Malians can really start to bring up the numbers of those springalds, it's going to be very difficult for the Ottomans to push this back. You can't rely on archers for the Donso, and the spears could become an issue, because the spears will be able to take care of the cavalry. So really this becomes a big fight for the Mista, because if you can take care of those mangonels with his springalds, then the Donso will be acting as a really great meat shield for those veteran javelin throwers. And you can see that happening now. The spearmen staying on the front line. As you can see, the knights and the cavalry for the Ottomans can't really engage effectively, but they do, because he does have a couple of the janissaries in the back, and that could be a nice counter to his infantry. As we see the springles firing off, will he be able to take the mangonels? But one thing to consider, will the mangonels get the good shots off? And they seem to do so. There are still 2 springles. Oh, the springle here from Mista not firing off at the mangonel. That was a bit of an oversight, as another mangonel shot does come out, takes care of that springle. There is still another 3rd mangonel there. That's something that needs to be taken care of, but the Mista doesn't have a springled on the field just yet. He needs to just chase it down with the Donso, and that's what he does. And the thing is that it's going to be reliant on the janissaries here to fight off those Donso. The mangonel does survive with 42 HP. I'm sure that demuslim will try and repair that, but the problem for the Mista now is that he just needs to push forward. Demuslim is struggling. He's going to be losing those production buildings, and if he loses the production buildings, it's going to become very problematic, because that costs a lot of wood to replace. As we do see now a keep coming down. The interesting thing is yeah, it does look like he mined that. I was just wondering whether he actually toggled his landmark to get hold of the stone. Doesn't appear so. Let's have a look. No, it's still stuck on gold, and that's fair enough. He's just gathered that stone himself with the villagers. The 2 rams do focus fire on the archery range. Still 2 mangonels in the background. There is a springle there on the field now for the Mista. The springle needs to really focus on those mangonels if he can. The mangonels is probably the key here for demuslim. Trouble is for demuslim, he doesn't have that much in the way of military. He lost a lot of his cavalry unless they're somewhere else on the map. Going up to the Imperial Age though with the Istanbul Observatory, I think that might be a little bit greedy, because Mista, once he sees that, he's going to double down, he's going to be super aggressive. Knowing that demuslim has just invested so many resources, food and gold, into that tech up to the Imperial Age, and I'm not sure he's going to have enough time for that to really take an effect. We shall see. A couple of villages going on the west side on that gold vein for demuslim, looking to get those resources again. That forward keep gives him a lot of map control here for the Mista. We'll have control of this mosque as well before too long. Those relics will become coming under fire and siege. Mangonels in the background will be taking care of some of those Donsos. Javelin throwers will need to be careful, especially with those 2 mangonels. More rams coming out, 2 springles on the field there for the Mista. Might need more than 2. As we see a great bombard coming out. This is what we wanted to see. We've been waiting for this. This thing is an absolute beast with 350 health, but look at the siege attack damage. 190. And it does have splash damage, I'm just telling you now. So we're going to see this unfold underneath the capital town centre. Maybe look to take down that keep. That's probably the best option here, as the Istanbul Imperial Palace is under pressure as well. There it is. There's the bombard doing bombard work. It's going to head back now though. Just the one shot we had a chance to see, as another great bombard does come out. A lot of these military schools toggled onto the knights as a production of choice, as you're going to take into a lot of stables as well. On the west side, the infantry numbers start to really build up. That 3rd town centre does go down for demuslim. Let's take a look at the village count. 102 for the Mista, 112 for the demuslim, of course courtesy of having that 3rd town centre. A lot of villager idle time here for the Muslim. Actually, Mista had a couple of idols there. Probably just recalibrating his economy in the south. Getting a bit of raiding action here, the Mista. Running in with a couple of those veteran javelin throwers. Mangonels heading towards the east side of the base. Maybe to protect this area here, we shall see. But the Mista does have this forward key position, which is a fantastic place to start his assault from. Gives them really good foothold into the game, and it's got plenty of villagers on that gold. Has fantastic map control here at this point. Be perhaps thinking about getting those relics on the sacred site if he wishes to, but looks like his mind's set on aggression here, looking to take out the 2nd town centre for demuslim with the javelin throwers, a lot of them. These guys won't be able to do too much damage to the buildings, but he's going to be buying himself some time as he's starting to mass up again in the front lines under the keep. With the Mista being population capped here, with demuslim really struggling on the military count, doesn't have any villagers on gold, and that's the key issue. The Mista with that keep has really denied gold income for demuslim, and it does mean that demuslim's going to struggle. He's holding on for now, but the veteran javelin throwers heading towards the heart of the economy. Going to be taking down a lot of these villages, albeit very slowly on the farming economy. demuslim not reacting. That's going to be a concern, because he's going to lose his food income. It's bad enough that he's lost his gold income. He's about to lose his food income as well. 2 mangonels still exist. Quite a few great bombards there. It's really starting to mass them up, but these guys are very expensive. These actually cost 1,500 resources in total, which is pretty darn expensive when you think about it. Costing 600 wood, 900 gold. That's where his gold's been spent on. And the Mista himself goes to the Imperial Age. It's starting to look to get those sacred sites now. Does have that relic. One relic from the back of his base. Might be sending an imam there to get a second relic. Those 2 relics have been taken out of that mosque, but look at the great bombards unfolding on that keep. The keep has bought the Mista a lot of time, but it does seem like that time might be running out soon for that keep. We'll see if the Mista is able to launch an assault. Now the Mista has got a pretty high population count as he goes forward with the Fort of the Huntress. So this is not a landmark I've seen here yet for the Malians. Let's explore this. This looks very interesting. Acts as a keep. Infantry units nearby the landmark enter stealth for 10 seconds. Interesting. And the Mustafadi warriors and the Mustafadi gunners gain first strike, dealing more damage when breaking stealth with an attack. Holy moly, that's actually super interesting. Dealing more damage when they attack on the first engagement, and that's pretty interesting because you could really tip the tides of war. Tip the tides of war. Jeez, words a struggle for me today. See, villagers on that gold vein will be going down for the Mista. Good raiding there for the Muslim, and he's going to head towards the heart of the base. And don't forget, unless he's changed it, he is still open technically. Imagine if these cows got raided. That'd be a bit of a disaster for the livestock. But the Mista is building up a decent number of units on the front lines. 3 rams. Interesting to see he hasn't actually teched into some bombards himself. Just kind of struggling on wood. Got plenty of gold coming in. Those bombards. A couple of veteran Donso heading forward. Now the thing about the bombards is that they do have a minimum range. As you can see, they do actually have units garrisoned inside them as well. You can see there's a spearman inside there, and it does boost up the bombards. I believe it's attack speed and deployment speed. I think it's attack damage and deployment speed for the great bombards. They're having a unit garrison inside, so one of the things that's quite nice there for the Ottomans. And that little advantage comes from one of the technologies, as you can see. He's actually unlocked many of them. Muslim sending some cavalry looking to cap that sacred site. We're taking into some barracks here. Maybe man-at-arms. We shall see what the Mista decides to do. Donsos have been upgraded to elite. Army heads back towards the retreatment of the Fort of the Huntress. You see, the Muslim does send some units here looking to raid. A couple of Donso in the back lines though for the Mista will be looking to sniff that out and stop them progressing any further. Quite a few villages here on the west side going to be raided again. Mista has a couple of units here, and that's going to be a concern for the Muslim. Looking to get a keep here on the gold vein. That's certainly going to be giving him a lifeline into this game. That's what the Muslim really needs here. He needs gold access. It's floating a lot of wood. Trouble for the Muslim is those great bombards, they really do melt culverins. That's kind of the perfect counter unit for them. The reason being is the range. As you can see, the great bombard, it's actually... I can't see the... That's frustrating. Can't see the stats for these when the spearmen are engaged inside. In any case, take it from me, the range is better for the culverins, as we see now. Units trying to snipe the siege. There are Donso there. The cavalry won't be able to take this fight effectively. There are a couple of these janissaries, but probably not enough to do enough damage. A couple of the culverins do go down though for the Mista. That's a concern. Needs to keep those alive. Those expensive units. Of course, not as expensive as the great bombards, but see if those bombards survive to tell the tale, because there's 3 culverins there. A lot of them are going down. One goes down, maybe another. There are Donso trying to protect it. I think that third one will be... It will be going down. The Muslim just sends cavalry right there, and that's an expensive loss there for the Mista. Who has a bit of gold wood left. Maybe we'll train a couple more of those, but the bombards are going to be safe for now. And the Muslim taking a really great fight there. That's for sure. The Donso not doing the damage they needed to be done. Mista is able to reproduce that unit army, and that army numbers very, very quickly. He had a lot of resources banked up, as you can see. Let's take a look at that. 45 military for the Muslim, 70 for the Mista. It's got so much military there, the Mista. It's being raided to death though at the back. Take a look at the military count. 97 for the Muslim, 95 for the Mista. All things kind of even, all things considered. But look at the amount of damage those bombards did to those units, the infantry units. The area effect damage, though. It's pretty impressive with that. A lot of the army for the Mista chasing units for the Muslim. Do you see another culverin popping out? There's a lot of siege here for the Muslim. 2 culverins there, 3 culverins. Do take out the man, get down. The bombards are going to be at risk here. The Donso need to get up on the front lines. They need to protect those culverins if you can. 1 bombard does go down, and the second one's going to be going down soon, you feel. That's a concern. 2 bombards, that's very expensive. That's 3,000 resources that went down there for the Ottomans. This one's very low health. I think the Janissaries could be able to help repair that, but the Donzo's going to snipe it in the end. Heads right into it. And the thing is now is that without the meat shield there for demuslim for the bombard's going to be trapped there. Mister's going to be taking that out with Donzo, and that's a huge loss using effectively trash units in the form of Donzo to take out a 1,500 costing unit. As villages and gold now need to go and retreat, but there is the GG. Demuslim taps out. The Mister takes game number 2 with the Malians triumphing over the Ottomans this time in game number 2. And it was an interesting end to the game. Mister lost a lot of units at one point, but he was able to replenish his army very quickly with the amount of resources he had banked up. And the Muslim was struggling for gold for a very long time in that game. As we now look to debrief and think about how that game panned out as we head into thinking about game number 3. So let's take a look at this situation so far, because we have got the Mister going 2 games ahead now versus the Muslim. And we're going to be having game number 3 with the Mister playing as the Malians again. And the Muslim trying his hand against the Malians playing as the Chinese. Alrighty, just as I load up the next game, just a friendly reminder that if you have been enjoying the stream, do give the video a thumbs up. And think about subscribing if you'd like to see more Age of Empires 4 content, because there's going to be plenty coming along the way. Certainly enjoying the game, especially the direction the game is going. The new DLC, and these 2 new civilizations are very interesting to watch and play. Hope you guys have been enjoying these 2 new civilizations as well. Do let me know in the comment section below what you think of the civilizations. Which one is your favorite? For me, I mean, I don't think I necessarily have a favorite just yet. I feel like the Malians can be very, very strong, but the Ottomans are very interesting with the vizier system. So I'm certainly looking forward to playing these 2 civilizations a bit more. But we're going to be heading into game number 3 very shortly, which will be on high view. Let's not delay anything, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a quick turnaround into game number 3. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this Age of Empires 4 casted game between the Mister and the Muslim. Certainly looking forward to this one, because we're going to be having the Mister in the north playing in blue as the Malians. And in the south, in red, going to be having demuslim playing as the Chinese. Now, demuslim plays a lot of Chinese, especially on maps like Altai. Doesn't have that kind of protection here today on high view. And it'd be interesting to see one of the new civilizations face up against one of the bread and butter, the old school OG civilizations for Age of Empires 4. One of the civilizations that had been there from the beginning in the form of the Chinese. We can see the Imperial officials supervising that mill and the villagers on there gathering the sheep. So we have the Mister playing as the Malians again. A second jab at it. A second go at it. He's going to go down to build a barracks out on that wood line. And of course starting to build those houses around that gold vein, which is at the back, which is quite nice for him. Going to be getting that gold pit, I'm sure. The pit mine, rather. We see villagers transitioning to wood here. It's rather interesting. Often we see villagers at this kind of time go to gold. So interesting build order for the Chinese. Let's look here. Alright, there's just a message in the chat from Master of Templar mentioning in their last game that when it was being played, the Muslim's son was crying, and so probably had to attend to that. I know the feeling, being a father myself, I know the feeling. It's quite tricky to have that protected time. Obviously, family tends to obviously come first, and so I can imagine that being part of the reason why maybe he had some troubles in that second game. But in any case, it was fantastic entertainment value. I'm sure that demuslim will be looking to try and get a win here in this third game to pull a game back into the show match, as we see a couple of units coming out here. Donzo. 2 Donzos. Okay, it's going to be Spearman Rush, a Donzo Rush. Or the Malians. So Mister looking to be aggressive here. 2 different ways and 2 different styles of playing the Malians being showcased by Mister back-to-back games. Going to forward those spearmen, and Mulder doesn't recognise that. Will he see it? I think he may have seen that. Yeah, he sees that. And that's because of the scout range of vision is so big for the Chinese. You just compare it for a second to the sight range for the Mister. Doesn't look too different, but it is. You can see it's at least a couple of tiles. And we're going to head towards the mill. Well, interesting play here. demuslim just kind of bringing those villagers a little bit closer to the town centre within the range, and so it does mean that the Mista won't be able to actually pressure those villagers at all. Donsos have to head back as we see a villager, and that's that kind of explaining why I was going for 3 villagers on wood. I get that early village, which is actually a really cost-effective way to increase that population space, and the Muslim recognizing the aggression here out of Mist is respecting the aggression and decides to place a barbican and sun on that meal and berry. Is going to protect that food economy. Oh, a little bit of a Donso dance there. We're going to be calling that the Donso dance, which we could have zoomed in a little bit earlier. But the Donsos do a bit of a dance. Back at home now. We haven't actually seen the pit mine being put down for the Mista yet. Actually super interesting. How much does that building cost? It's actually quite expensive, 150 wood. Doesn't have the wood at the moment. Mista spent the initial wood, a large proportion of it on that barracks, of course. Does delay his pit mine, or delay his uptime as well then. Mr. Muslim already has the same amount of gold in the bank, but the key difference is that the Muslim is up to the feudalage and the Mista isn't. Not much came out of that early rush there with the Donsos. The Muslim does now reach the feudal age. All villagers there for the Mista. Get that gold income with the gold mine that's there. Now, the real question is will we see a second town centre play out of the Muslim, or is it going to go for the Song dynasty first? It is often the Song dynasty that's opted for first. Mista going up with the, we shall see, the Mansa Quarry. Muslim looking to wall up the west side, maybe looking to boom a little bit with the Chinese. Of course, the economy can be incredibly strong. Does get the palisade walls out in time. Will the Donsos try and poke and poke those villagers? Will he? Yeah, the villagers do get the walls up in time. That's partly down to the fact that the Chinese can build incredibly fast. Well, that was open there, I think, for a second. But in any case, palisade walls do go up in time and buys the Muslim a little bit more time. Opting for a mill there, or double mill. And that's probably because he's going to want to get those cows out onto the field there, Mista. Yeah, it's going to be the Song dynasty with the Imperial Academy for the Chinese. Ooh, the Donsos are going to go towards the woodline, but there's no real value to be had there for the Mista as he heads towards the north again. But the Barbican and the Sun gets a little bit of a hit off there. Pretty passive game so far. It's commonly expected when you have the defenses in the form of the Barbican and the Sun there for the Chinese. There's that new age as it is. It's actually the Song dynasty really for the Muslim. It's a new age certainly for the Malians played by the Mista. As you can see the cows popping out here. Maybe a couple of capital ranches will be coming out. Looking to get that passive food income coming in. Archery range coming out for the Muslim. Maybe look to get some of those Jugunu out there. Incredibly strong unit for the feudal age. Very nice unit to use as well. And they will certainly do a good job on this Donso. Donso will be no match for the Jugunu. Burning the cattle's coming out on the ranches. Double producing there, the Mista. Villages on gold there for Muslim being pushed off a little bit, but as the Shuganu now do start to pop out, Donsos won't be able to get too much more value as he does now start to pull the villagers onto stone and supervising it as well. Now this is a key bit of detail. Something to bear in mind is that the Mista will not be aware of this. So the Mista knows that his opponent is in Song Dynasty. I mean, if you hadn't scouted out the Imperial Academy, he'll know about it because of the Shuganu production. Shuganu, of course, only being able to be produced with the Song Dynasty. The key issue is what demuslim's done very cleverly here. He's waited for his opponent to leave, or in fact, he's pushed his opponent out. And then he's transitioned into the stone. So really, the Mista won't be aware of that at all. For all intents and purposes, Mista's probably thinking, oh, his opponent is just in the Song Dynasty. That will mean that the mista will be lagging behind on villages quite significantly. As we see 29 for the mista, 31, and that difference is only going to increase. Especially because of the Song Dynasty, which produces villages at a reduction speed, or reduced speed, well, hang on, reduced time, so an increased production speed by 35%, I'm inclined to say. Let's just double check on that. It's going to be, oh no, it's a lot more than that. 55%. Holy smokes, that's a lot more than I expected. I don't know if that's a recent change or not, but 55% is an incredible speed reduction. I have to just double check that. Is that really a thing? Holy smokes. It's 55. I think that's the new change perhaps for the Chinese, but in any case, villages will be producing quick time. With 2 town centres, it would be the equivalent of having 3 town centres with the Song Dynasty activated there, and then some. The Mista kind of sticking with 1 town centre does mean he's going to be in a bit of a timer. Sure, he'll have some, I guess, passive food and gold income coming in, which will help his situation, but 1 town centre for 3 town centres versus 3 town centres won't be looking to increase his favour or odds of winning this game as the time progresses, because as the time progresses, those villagers will start to rise in numbers for the Chinese and really gather those resources, which will of course naturally translate into military. Now we see outposts going in the stealth forest there for demuslim in the map high view. Getting quite a bit of map control as well. I'm going to get some palisade walls, looking to secure those relics. And next, maybe it was on his mind to gather in the castle age. Get the feeling that Mr. should get to the castle age first himself, though, with the economy he's got. The fact that he's not pumping so much food into villagers. Trouble for the Mr. is the longer the game goes on, he will be under pressure. A couple of these javelin throws looking to do some damage against the Jugunu. We'll see how they fare actually. Jugunu still do a lot of damage to them. Okay, we do see some javelin throws really starting to queue up here from the archery range. Or the Mr. Could be javelin throwers and Donso as the army composition. We've seen that before for the Mista and the Malians, as he now starts to head over to another pit mine. Taking the one that's further away, actually. This is interesting because playing against the Malians, this is something we need to keep an eye on. And it's kind of a natural gravitational point for your army. You're thinking, where can you put your army if you're up against the Malians? Well, just head to the nearest gold vein. Or head towards the nearest gold vein to the Malians at least. And might be surprised with what you find. You might find a couple of houses and a pit mine. You see the Mista readying up for that next age up. We shall see what landmark he decides to get up to the castle age with. And there it is. There's the gong for that castle age. What will he choose? That's the question. A couple of Donso kind of trapped there by the Jugunu. A lot of those will go down. Look at the extensive walls for demuslim. He's going to run into that sooner or later. He's really pressurized with those walls, getting huge amounts of map control. Going to be the Farimba garrison. Going to be looking to get those units out nice and quickly for the Malians. Quickly producing barracks and archery range units, 5 at a time. And those units will cost gold only and have a 20% discount. There are a lot of pastures, or I should say really cattle ranches. Let's take a look at the food income that's coming in for the Mista. It has 600 odd food with literally 0 villagers on food. It's all coming in from the cattle. Going to be getting some blacksmith for some upgrades as well. Villager didn't quite manage to build those walls. They were pretty ambitious there for demuslim. In the southeast, a couple of javelin throws with the Donso to deny that villager building up the wall, but there is an outpost there, offering a lot of protection. As we see the castle age going to be coming in for demuslim as well in quick time. The villagers for the Chinese build faster than any other civilization, going up with the astronomical clock tower. No surprises there really. We'll be seeing some hardened Donso coming out for Mista. Sending some more villagers there towards the right side of that gold vein. Wants to extract as much as gold as he can, I suspect. And I'll be interested to see who decides to build a monastery first to try and get some of those relics. Doesn't appear the Chinese have done so just yet. More villagers heading towards the western wood area. Couple of outposts coming up for the Mista as well. Just outside of this forward position. Needs to make sure he keeps this area safe because there's quite a few villagers here. Will not want those villagers to be taken down, that's for sure, whilst they're gathering gold. Especially as he starts to produce from the Varimba garrison. As you can see, the cost of the units just purely gold. 220 gold for an archer, holy moly. It produces 5 at a time though, to be fair. So I think that's the cost for 5 of them. That's 320 for 5, I suspect. It must be, right? It's gotta be. Taking a look at the Musafadi warrior, that is the man-at-arms equivalent. None of those on the field though just yet. Going to be Donso, and the javelin thrower is going to be looking to torch down that outpost. That's been fortified though. That's going to be a bit difficult to take care of, especially with the hand cannon slits in place. See more Donso coming out. This is a really interesting landmark to get the military out super fast, and I think that's what the Mister's going to need because he's going to be up against a really booming economy. Let's take a look at the economy. 48 for the Mister, 78 for demuslim playing as a Chinese. That is a huge villager lead, and we're only 14 minutes into the game, and it's not just the villager lead that's in place, the supervision of the resources coming in. I mean, it's true that the passive food income and gold income for the Malians will be strong, but it won't account for a 30 villager discrepancy, you feel. Heading towards another pit mine there on the west side. There is that monastery. Reducing some of those monks to get out onto the field, pick up some of those relics, picking up this one on the west. Mister will notice it. Oh, might take the monk out. He does. Just about. It's actually quite a smart play by the Mister. Talk about timing. He actually snipes that monk. There is going to be one relic coming in for the Chinese. Pretty nice and securely. Going to be seeing some more veteran javelin throwers coming up for the Malians as he starts to build up the military numbers. Let's take a look at that because that's going to be key. 15 for demuslim, 36, so the numbers really starting to build up for the Mister. Question really is demuslim ready for that push? And he might be. He's got quite a lot of food and gold and wood. Not really gold, actually, food and wood, really. I'll be looking to maybe get a keep. You know what demuslim is like with keeps? He loves getting keeps. A couple of hundred away, though. The outpost will now start to go down, despite being fortified. The number of Donso really pushing that back, and there are 4 villages. I think demuslim will want to get hold of this. I don't know if he has a market. He'll be able to buy the stone. He does have a market, so he'll be able to buy the stone. Worst things worst. He's going to be dropping a keep on that wood line. He needs to get that protection up and running. That keep will buy him a lot of time on this wood line. Another relic being brought in. That'll be the second for the Chinese. The interesting part is that there are 3 villages here on the front line for demuslim. That's actually a lot of population space that will get wiped out instantaneously if they do go down. The trouble for the Mister in doing that is there is a Barbican of the Sun and a keep in the way of doing that. It's unlikely to happen anytime soon as the relic is now picked up again for demuslim. Will the Mister spot it? Oh, he will. He takes another monk as well, and that's a little bit sort of waste. Actually, wait, that's the Mister's one. That is the Mister one. That belongs to Mister and the Malians, so it will be a relic coming in for the Malians. He already has one in play. Going to go up with another town centre rather late into the game. A couple of villages trying to build that, but gets pushed off it. He might lose the town centre. I think he lost the stone for that. He didn't delete it in time, and he lost that town centre. That's actually rather painful. A lot of resources were lost there, and now the palace guards rush in, and doesn't really feel like the Mister has a counter for this. I need those javelin throwers. Or actually, I'm not sure if the javelin throwers do all that much against them. No, they won't do. And the veteran Donso is only light military units. It doesn't really feel like Mister has an answer to this, as the villagers on gold are pressured by the palace guards. Palace guards coming in and kind of getting tickled. He's killing the cows. Oh no, the Muslims killing the cows, and that's actually a pretty big deal because if these aren't protected, then the passive food income won't be coming in. But he does still have access to 500 food per cow, so not the end of the world. Imagine if you lost the food there. The palace guards rushing in for demuslim. This is all just buying time for the Chinese. I get the feeling this is not obviously the big push that's going to end the game. This is actually more of a distraction. And despite that, it's getting a lot of value. Don't forget, he took out a town centre before it was deleted and has killed 3 cows. As the villagers now do start to take the cattle carcass. Now there is no decay in the food in the game, but imagine if there was, that would be another added layer to that. Looks like the villagers will be eating beef tonight, the Malians. It looks like a full farming transition coming out here on the right side. Looks like Mista was trying to protect that relic. I'm not sure if he did manage it in the end. The palisade walls didn't really go up, so I suspect he didn't. But a big farming transition coming in. Interesting enough, would the Mista see that? No, he won't be able to. Not with the palisades. The palisades don't really give that much line of vision or line of sight as the sacred site. It's looking to be capped in the middle here for demuslim, but that won't be happening because the javelin throwers will take care of that. As we do see 2 trebuchets coming on the front line, and that town centre is now being built on the west side. The villager count 45 for the Mista, 112, almost triple. You very rarely see that. But with triple the villager count, doesn't really feel like there's a way back to the game for the Mista. It's going to need a miracle here. It's going to need a big push, and it's going to need it fast because we're approaching 20 minutes into the game, and the trouble is the static defences here for demuslim is going to buy himself a significant period of time. Even with 2 trebuchets, it's going to need more here, you feel. A couple of palace guards raiding this gold vein here on the right side, and looks like demuslim is going to be heading towards the Imperial Age soon if he wishes to. Just needs a better food farming transition. Quite a hard farming transition, has to be said. All the farms being placed at the same time. Plenty of gold there, demuslim. Gold income pretty insane. Could potentially buy his way up. Not that's necessarily a good option. Will be hugely inefficient to do so as he continues to get a keep on the east side rather, protecting that farming economy, keeping his economy safe, and yeah, the Mista's going to struggle to get value here. A couple of villagers on stone will be pushed off by the veteran javelin throwers. The trebuchets unfold, looking to take out some of the outposts, and the Muslim might need to start investing in units here. And that's looking to be the case. He's going for barracks, and the trouble for the Mista is that it doesn't really have a counter to the palace guards. The Donso and the javelin throwers are a very strong army composition in the feudal age, or if you're not fighting against armoured units in this sense, but in terms of man-at-arms, Malians are going to need a different answer to what he has on the field already. Now the issue is the Malians don't get access to crossbows. Might have to rely on the Mustafa Digana. Got palace guards on the back line, fighting off a couple of veteran javelin throwers. Be no problem for them. I say a couple of palace guards, but there are a lot more on the front lines there. Looking to decap that central sacred site and pressurize this area. 2 trebuchets do unfold there. Don't do too much damage. The palace guards look to decap that sacred site, but Mr. holding on to it for now. We will start to see the military lead coming up for the Muslim soon once he pumps all that economy into military. There's 91 military on the field there for the Mista, so he has plenty. The trouble for the Mista is his army's being pulled backwards, it's being pulled towards his base, he's defending most of the time, and there's a couple of units here and there occupying the whole of the Malian army. That is the key detail in this strategy game, because the Muslim's quite happy to throw away these units, and in fact the palace guys is not really even throwing them away. He'll be able to take decent trades. But it's not about the trade, it's not about the fight, it's about the time that this is buying demuslim. Buying himself so much time for that farming transition to come up, and look at the palace guards coming in to replace as soon as those ones die. Trouble for the Mista is just not going to be able to replace that army just as fast as demuslim is. The current resources bank might be looking deceiving. It does feel like Mista has more, but it's probably coming down to the fact that demuslim is spending a lot more of it from all of these barracks because there are 10 of them. And there are a couple of veteran Musafadi warriors out. The equivalent of man-at-arms for the Malians. A couple of veteran javelin throwers doing decent damage against the palace guards. Yet the feeling's going to need more. Palace guards heading towards the south, going to be raiding the food economy, the farms there, pretty exposed. As you see the palace guards edging forwards on the front line, the Muslim going to be pushing further forward. Just needs to deal with these Musafadi warriors though first, if he can. Try and prevent those getting the way back into the game for the Malians, and they kind of get peppered by those Nesta bees. The fireworks show has begun. Doesn't have the line of sight, so can't fire over the wood line. Palace guards still putting pressure on the front lines and just struggling for Mista to make those 90 army units push forward. In fact, the trebuchets are actually still right in his base, and they will be taken down by the palace guards. Might be losing more siege as well with the palace guards pushing forward. And holds on to the Springald, but check this out. The Muslim will be heading into the Imperial Age. And that's going to be bad news for the Mista and the Malians. Let's just see what landmark is going to go for. It's going to be the Spirit Way. An interesting landmark for the Chinese. Dynasty-related technology can be researched here. But minus 50% cost and has a 150% boosted research speed. And the key thing is that when a unit is killed, when a dynasty unit is killed, the nearby units actually increase attack speed by 20% and 20 health over 10 seconds. Really does change the dynamic of a fight. See now, a couple of units, just the palace guard, keeping a couple of units busy, denying the town centre again for a bit. Trouble is for the Mista, this town centre is a little bit too little too late, you feel. 123 villages versus 69. You do feel like demuslim is going to reach critical mass very soon. They do have even populations. The trouble for the Mista is that whilst he has a lot of army to buy himself some time to defend, once he loses that one army, he's not going to be able to replace it, whereas the Muslim is going to be able to replace it for fun. Palace guard is going to be torching down the town centre. Actually, going to go straight past. Maybe looking to take out the units first. Or looking to try and take out the villagers. Again, the palace guards idling a lot of military there for the Mista. These 29 Musafadi warriors and 6 javelin throwers. There are only a handful of palace guards there. demuslim does now have access to that first sacred site for him on the right side, and getting the one on the west. Actually, no, it's decapping the one on the west. Or was thinking about it. As we see, siege workshops coming out for the Mista, has 3 of them. Certainly a large investment in siege. Mista maybe opted to go to the Imperial Age himself, but the trouble is that you feel that things are going to escalate very quickly. If the Mista decides to go for the Imperial Age, he will sink a lot of resources in order to do so, and then you feel that's the go time for demuslim. That will be the signal to attack for the Chinese. The Chinese will sense the weakness for the Malians, knowing that the resources have been put up into the tech up. It means that the ability for the Malians to replenish the army is going to be even worse, that's for sure. With the Imperial Age in a long time ago for the Chinese, these guys are now elite palace guards. And you get the feeling that it's almost as if demuslim's waiting. He's waiting for his opponent to get to the Imperial Age before he pounces. Once he does go to the Imperial Age, the Malians, I feel like that's when demuslim will start to push forward. As we do see the Malians now going for that tech up, you feel like the game is pretty readable at this point. Not entirely sure what landmark he's going up with, the Mista. Can't quite see it. Where is that landmark? That's the question. Will it be the keep? It may have to be. It is indeed. It's going to be the fort of the Huntress. Palace guards going to head towards that position. The villagers are going to be slain by the elite palace guards, and that landmark is going to be denied. And if the Muslim starts torching them, that can become a problem. It's going to be fire lancers. The fire lancers are going to be taking out Springald, maybe more. As you can see, the Dynasty Spirit Way, the Dynasty units, when they get killed, the others around them heal up a little bit and have an attack speed bonus. And there are a lot of Nesta Bees with the bombardment behind the sieges out there for the Chinese, but those siege will be under attack from the veteran Musafadi warriors. They're going to be taking down those Nesta Bees, which is quite expensive, but the villagers here being slain here for the Mista, not able to get this landmark up, and the timing here for demuslim was perfect. And there it is, there's the GG. demuslim takes game number 3. He pulls one back, and it means now the match is heading into another game with the Mista losing in this one. The Chinese triumphing over the Malians on Highview. And that was an interesting game, to say the least, as we head over to the main overlay just to update things a little bit and catch up with the way the show match is at the moment. Because it does mean now the Mista loses with the Malians in game number 3, with demuslim pulling one back. And we are going to be heading into game number 4 very, very, very soon. And it's going to be, let's just take a look at the map. It's going to be Altai. Not only is it going to be Altai, we're going to see the English featured for the Mista, with demuslim opting for the Ottomans this time around. And I'm excited to see how the English face up against the Ottomans, especially in the late game. Get the feeling that English might just have an edge. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the casted games, and a little friendly reminder as we load up into game number 4. If you have been enjoying the stream, do give the video a thumbs up, and I am excited to bring you more Age of Empires 4 content. So if that's something that suits you, then do think about subscribing to the channel, as we're going to be heading very soon into game number 4 on Altai with the English up against the Ottomans. Now, this is actually a play all 5 situation, so even if the Mista does win this game, we will be seeing a 5th game. And so we will be seeing a Malians mirror match on Hill and Dale to end the show match. And the featuring of these 2 new civilizations on the new DLC for Age of Empires 4, which I feel is going to be a fantastic boost for the Age of Empires 4 community. So we're now going to start heading into game number 4 on Altai. Brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, as we head into Altai. Here it is. We're going to be having a cracker of a 4th game, I feel. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 4 of this show match between demuslim and the Mista, with the Mista playing in the southwest in yellow as the English on Altai, and in the northeast we've got demuslim playing as the Ottomans in blue. That being Altai, this could be a tricky matchup for the Ottomans, you feel. Of course, we've not seen many matchups with the Ottomans, such a new civilization, but just theory crafting, the Mista might want to pull this game into the late game, because if he does, he can have access to enclosures and effectively unlimited gold. The Ottomans kind of haven't been seen too much in the late game in the Imperial Age. It'll be interesting to discover what kind of landmarks and units that they'll decide to go up against with the English. You start to see 2 villages on gold now for the Ottomans. Let's take a look at the build order for the Mista and the English. He does tend to play them relatively aggressive with the council hall opening and longbowman rush. Go for 8 villages on food, and now starting to send those villages on gold. Those 2 villages on gold, going to be gathering that gold nice and quickly. Looking to get up to the next stage. The English can get to the next stage relatively fast. The Ottomans not so much. At least, actually, it'd probably be the same time. It could potentially be the same timing. It's the Malians actually that have a delayed, or have a more flexible. I think it's the flexibility really for the Malians build order. The fact that they can get that pit mine, have that passive gold generation, but of course they can still mine gold. So they do have the option to passively get that gold or potentially mine it. See a scout going in the south here for the English. I suspect it's only 1 scout for both players again. That seems to be the meta, unless you're playing against the French or the Rus at the moment. But it's just being pulled here from gold towards the wood now for demuslim. Now that he's got enough gold to reach the next stage, we shall see what landmark he decides to put down, and it is probably going to be the council hall, you feel, for the English, and that is indeed the case. The Mist are going to go with the council hall with 4 villages. Both players actually going to the next stage pretty much identical times. I suspect they'll both reach the feudal age incredibly similar times, because they're also using the same number of villages, and it does look to be the twin minaret madrasa, the landmark of choice for the Ottomans going to the feudal age. We've seen this landmark very commonly now. Going to be getting those berry bushes with a 50% harvest rate increase, and also being able to grow those 4 berry bushes that also regrow after 120 seconds if they're depleted. So an infinite source of food, but not a huge one. But it is a nice one, certainly at the beginning of the game, as the sheep actually get attracted to the council hall and then slowly head towards the town centre. Now I'm sure all of you are very familiar with Altai. Of course, you have these central ridges, and in either side of them you do have valuable resources, whether it be relics, gold, sacred sites, wood. You name it, it's there. Stone, as you can see, deer patches as well on this side. There has been a bit of a change in the map script though. As you can see, only 3 deer spawning here on the outside. They do have a nice patch of deer in the main base though, accessible to them, if they so wish. Alright, it looks like Mr. is going to be heading out to Stone, looking up for a second town centre. Commonly being done on the Altai map with the English, getting that second town centre nice and early, and then even thinking about getting a 3rd town centre in the form of the King's Palace at the Castle Age when the time comes. There's that tech up there for the feudal age with the twin minaret madrasa. Will demuslim look to get that? Well, he won't be looking to get wheelbarrow because he doesn't have any villages on gold. Wheelbarrow not going to be in for the Mista either. He doesn't actually have a mill at this point. He'll be sending a couple longbow forward to see what value he can get. The scout is on point there for demuslim, so he will know about it, but one sheep does get sniped there. Might even lose a second. It does indeed lose a second for those longbows. Scout's going to come home, but it's going to be 2 sheep light. As you can see, demuslim opting for getting a second town center himself. We're matching up what the Mista is up to here. The longbows are continuing to come out here for the Mista, and will demuslim have a response to this? He may need to get some units onto the field. Woodline is pretty protected. The villagers have to be pulled off a stone. They get the 300 stone they need. And it should be nice and safe here for demuslim actually. It's quite a nice town centre placement as a static defence as well. It will protect those barriers and that western woodline to an extent. And the deer patch that's at the back. Although there is a way for the longbows to creep round on the west side should they wish to do so. I wonder where those longbows are. Still in the middle of the map. They're kind of bunching together. Trying to take an effective fight and maybe pick off a villager. Not much for them to pick off as we do see the Mista opting that second town centre as we said earlier. Nearly getting there with the stone count. One more drop off will do it. As the wood as well. Probably going to be dropping that town centre on the deer, and that is indeed the case. Couple of longbows on that wood line. Not getting peppered with arrows from the town centre there, but this is interesting. The range isn't all that great for the town centre. These longbows actually getting so much value. They're pushing those villagers away from that wood line. And they have to rebuild a lumber camp as well, so that's a lot of wood invested in that, and a bit of idle time as well. Just for 3 longbows. Doesn't seem like a lot, but this stage of the game, idle time really matters. Second town centre is now up and running for the Ottomans. Almost getting there for the English, but not quite yet. It's just to see what demuslim decides to spend his first vizier points on, because he's almost getting there. He's almost getting there. The Imperial Council going to be very helpful for the Ottomans. Likely to be thinking about Anatolian hills. Maybe a mehta. We haven't seen a mehta being produced by the Ottomans just yet. Getting there for a stable. Going to be looking to be aggressive here in the feudal age here, the Ottomans, I suspect. And the threat is always there for the English to do so. That's a lot of sheep coming up. I think he just spent the... Yeah, he spent the vizier on the Anatolian hills, sporting 8 sheep at the landmark, and also increasing the villager mining speed by 10%. Speaking of mining, he doesn't actually have any villagers mining. Not yet, anyway. Ooh, villagers going on stone again. It could be the case that demuslim is looking for a third town centre. We've seen that as the play a little bit here for the Ottomans. Nine villages on gold. Looks like the Mista's opting for the castle age behind this, but 9 on gold is quite a lot. Does have 17 villages on food, to be fair, so that food count will start to rise pretty quickly. And the gold will be being spent on upgrades, in particular, as we can see, survival techniques will be coming in to help boost up the efficiency of getting the food from the deer carcass. See a scout heading there towards the gold, so the Muslim will be aware of this, and he'll be aware of the fact that if he's opting for a third town centre, you need to be careful about thinking about warding up and getting some static defences. There's a villager heading more towards the west. I wonder what that villager is up to. It might not be. It actually might not necessarily be for a second town centre. Oh, it is a third town centre, sorry, rather. Because there is something that the Ottomans can produce that does need stone, and that is the military school. Costs 100 stone. Thank you for the subscription, Omar. Hope you're doing well, enjoying the casting sets and games and the content. As we see a couple of longbows going to be taking out that scout, or at least pressurising, as the villager trying to wall up on that western area. Hello Hans, how's it going? I don't even know which one to root for. Both are just such nice people. That is very, very true. Hope you're doing well, Hans. Good to see you on the stream. I'm really enjoying these new civilisations, I have to say. I think it's kind of breathed a bit of fresh air. especially for casters, because, you know, when you see lots of Age of Empires 4 content, loads of games, it's very difficult for new things to emerge. I mean, the Mister's actually pretty good at being one of those players that does invent new strategies, but once you've seen a lot of a single matchup or same sort of matchup on the same maps, it doesn't become stale as such, but you kind of can call what's going to happen, especially in the pro level scene, where players are just so efficient and, you know, they do what they need to do, play meta style. But now with 2 new civilizations, that gives a lot of new matchups, new combinations, new strategies to think about. Certainly going to spice things up. With 3 town centres now, though, for demuslim. 45 villages for the Mista, 48 for demuslim. And the thing is that Mista's going to effectively get a 3rd town centre for free in the form of the King's Palace. Hello Melkor, how are you doing? Welcome in the chat. Yeah, this is the new DLC featuring the 2 new civilizations, the Ottomans and the Malians. I've casted quite a few games featuring both civilizations, but we're actually seeing in this particular game, of course, the Ottomans versus the English, which is actually quite refreshing because we've seen a lot of the matches between the 2 new civilizations. But of course, that only tells half the story because, of course, there's plenty more civilization matchups. The last game we saw the Malians versus Chinese, and in this one we're going to see the Ottomans versus the English. We see a lot of extensive walls coming out here. demuslim being quite aggressive with the walls as well. He's pushing those walls really on the front lines. Mista being kind of walled in a little bit. And this will buy some time for demuslim, restricting the access for the Mista on terms of map control and just exiting his base. The 3rd town centre is up and running now for the Mista, so this is going to be a very heavy macro approach to this Altai map. Not surprising, can happen. But I do fear for the Ottomans, because this is going to be exciting to watch the late game, and we know how the English really do thrive in the late game, the super late game as well, at least. Muslim a little bit behind on that castle age, we'll be heading there soon. And the Mista is going to be aware of that. He's got a couple of knights going to be looking to try and take some villages, cause some damage, as we see the Ottomans going up with the Mehmed Imperial Armory. Oh, that's interesting. We're not seeing that before. Mehmed Imperial Armory reduces siege engines for free, but with a longer train time. And it'll be pretty cool to see those great bombards again. Those units are crazy to behold. Very nice to see. Oh, they really do pack a punch as well. And I like this choice here, because if he's kind of gearing up to the super late game, well then the choice of the twin minaret with kind of, I guess, good amount of spawning food, and the Mehmed Imperial Academy effectively giving infinite siege units, but obviously with a train time, or free siege units I should say really. It's not infinite because of course it's limited by the population cap, as we see those 2 knights heading towards that wood line, idling the economy, at least for a short time. 2 Sipahi do pop out. They'll take a charge attack against the knights, but those Sipahi will not be able to do too much damage to the knights. It is effectively castle age units versus feudal age units. A couple of villagers still building up that Imperial Armory. Certainly taking a delay to the castle age, and it's a concern because villagers on the woodline going down still with the 2 knights. Going to be a lot of kills here. A lot of raiding potential for those knights. 67 villagers for demuslim, 64. The demuslim is going to be losing a bit of the villager lead that he had. Knights do go down though, and he's going to be trying to torch down a bit of this armory as well. Not going to be able to take it out, so probably not worth it. Needs to bring those units back home. Back home. Speaking of back home, the English are having a nice farming transition. Couple of knights heading towards the north as well. There is an entry point here that demuslim hasn't taken care of. There's not much in the way of damage to the economy to be had though. And the Mehmed Imperial Academy Armory rather has been built. He's toggling onto mangonels for now. See if he switches to anything else. He would need the Imperial Age to be able to get some great bombards though, if he so wishes to get those units. And Mr. will spot this now. He knows that this could be a position to attack from, and does demuslim know about this? He probably should. I'm sure he does. I suspect he does. Let's engage. Won't be able to take the fight because there are quite a few hardened spearmen there on the field now for the Ottomans. Another layer of palisade for the Ottomans. Could be archery rangers going down here for the Mr. Looking to get some relics. Does have a monastery. Has 1 relic in the bank already. The Muslim has the mosque, getting a couple of imams himself I suspect. But the question is whether he used his vizier points on the field work for the imams to pop out. He didn't. Instead he went for the military campus. The military schools that can be built is increased by 1. So that is quite a nice option for the Ottomans for the late game as well. Being able to get free units onto the field. Though it does take a while for them to train, they are free. Okay, the military school. That is the military school going down there on the front lines. Quite a few villages on that gold vein as well for demuslim still. Sipahi have got their veterancy. Knights continue to be produced by the Mista. Not sure what those villages were going out to. I think he was going to try to go to gold, but he's been walled in. Demuslim never really managed to get those walls up in the end. Looks like Mista's going to get control of this right-sided gold vein. That's actually going to be quite critical. He's running out of gold at home soon. He has 800 left. Odd. We need to get the central sacred site with a monk and keep his army forward. We can. The outpost is there, so that will give him the network of castles bonus. Network of castles bonus is quite a nice bonus for the English. If you're not aware, the attack speed is increased by 20% when they're in the influence of that outpost. As we see a couple of units here on the right side heading towards to try and take that outpost, you feel. There is an imam bringing a relic home for the Ottomans. Now, the Ottomans are very much known for their mosques in Turkey, of course. Well, I mean, now it's Turkey, but of course the Ottoman Empire expanded and had a huge empire, and you can really see the beauty of the architecture in the mosque. They still have that beauty in Turkey if you go there. The spearmen do look to try and engage against the knights, but the knights have the movement speed. They do head back. Longbow's going to focus fire on the spears, but there aren't enough longbows there. I feel like the longbows are going to be taken out by the Sipahi, the veteran Sipahi. There are quite a few knights there as well. This is going to be becoming quite clearly a micro battle. The spears engage, they brace with the knights. There is a monk there for the English healing up a little bit. You get the feeling that without the Sipahi, it's not going to be a great fight there for demuslim as the veteran longbows. Actually, I don't think they have the veterancy there. No, they're just simple longbows, feudal age longbows. They're going to be taking out the spearmen that remain. I do love the animation for the projectiles. We saw the animation for the projectiles for the siege units change. It looks so good now. We can see there's a bit of a rework for the longbows as well. And it's pretty nice to see. The Muslim does have access to that sacred site, going to be getting that passive gold generation. Of course, the Mista has the one in the centre. Both players just biding their time, holding off just for now. More production units in the form of stables coming out for the Ottomans. Looking to be a bit of a face-off again. A couple of knights heading there on the west side for the Mista, looking to try and get some damage. Going to run into a couple of the Sipahi, then head back. He doesn't want to brace against the spears, that's for sure. Palisade wall coming up there for demuslim on the west side. Going to secure that position, making sure that he's safe from the raids for those knights. And he's going to head back again, demuslim, to build those production buildings. Nice farming economy here for the English, as expected. Of course, benefiting from having cheaper farms. Another siege workshop has been built, so certainly demuslim will be looking to get enough siege on the field, probably in the form of the mangonels, of course. Will be a very nice counter to the longbows if that's an army unit of choice for the English today on all time. Seems to be predominantly cavalry in the form of knights, getting some damage at the back. Looks like this might head into the Imperial Age relatively soon. At least for the Ottomans, has plenty of gold. Kind of spending all his food though. Getting crossbows to try and counter some of those knights. And this is quite a nice military academy building. It's just the fact that you can toggle it to different units very quickly is very nice. Surprised not to see the meh there being coming out for the Ottomans just yet. Yeah, oh no, I take that back. As I say that, here are two meh there. You see drumming away. Couple of knights raiding the berry bushes to get a couple of villager kills though. And he's going to be trapped in though, and that's concerned. Yeah, that army is going to be gone, but it did get a bit of damage and a hard farming transition here on the north for demuslim. There's a knight trying to break through in the palisades. Slowly but surely we'll get there. I think it's just calming down. There is a keep in the forward position for the Mista, so we'll be looking to get the network of citadels, which will increase the attack speed by an extra 25%, so a bonus 50% attack speed on his units that are under the influence. Really nice bonus for the English. We might see an engagement here on the front lines very soon. Veteran longbows and crossbows in the back there for the Mista. However, for the Mista, it doesn't have any siege. He could potentially produce some from the keep, but he's currently researching network of citadels, which just comes in at the perfect time. If the longbows do want to engage, the longbows actually garrison inside the keep. But the knights do tank a lot of the damage. Kind of get tickled by arrow fire. Looking at the population though, looking good for demuslim, almost at the 200 population cap, 120 villagers odd, 79 military, 120 villagers as well for the Mista, but only 43 military. A lot of that will be coming down to the fact that the Ottomans are getting free military on the field, as you can see. Absolutely free, these crossbowmen. Could be a big engagement here. Looks like the Mista might be edging towards the Imperial Age. And if he does, he'll have access to enclosures. That means these farms will actually generate gold. And the farming economy has been expanded even further now. The Mista getting an outpost here on the right, just making sure that he's nice and safe and secure. There's no ambush coming in. There's going to be the Wingard Palace on the front line. For the Mista, going to be getting cheap units, particularly trebuchets. You get the feeling the biggest cost savings for the Wingard Palace will be the trebuchets. There's the engagement coming in. Mangonels on the back line. It looks like a blacksmith coming in for demuslim as well, looking to get some more upgrades, but also perhaps influence the military school that's been built there. There's that Imperial Age now for the Mista. I suspect we'll be queuing up enclosures. That's the first thing he does. Now, you feel like demuslim will want to push. I think demuslim recognizes he's got a bit of a window of attack. So we might get rid of this keep. And that is huge. Just as the Mista heads into the Imperial Age, he loses a keep. That was 800 odd resources. The mangonels doing great work there. And this is a problem here for the Mista. He needs something to do with the mangonels. He certainly does. As the meh there in the back line, drumming away, boosting up the units. The knights will circle around. It feels like the spears are out of position, but they do now get in position. The trouble for demuslim is fighting underneath the keep, so the spearmen won't be able to tank too much damage. I wonder whether demuslim is overextending here. The trouble for demuslim is that he is still in the castle age, being aggressive in the castle age. Wants to try and inflict some damage. He's going to the Imperial Age himself, so I'm a bit surprised that he's not waiting. He's not converting these units into elite units. There is that age up now. Fighting underneath the Wingard Palace, a couple of longbows there, going to be looking to focus on the spears. Once the spearmen go down, that'll be an issue because the knights will then just try and do as much damage as they can. Our three mangonels though, hiding behind the Wingard Palace, using that kind of choke point of building to protect themselves. The longbows engaging, they're not on scattered formation, there could be a bit of casualties here. The mangonels actually opting to fire at the trebuchets. Rather surprisingly, he does lose a trebuchet, but he loses a mangonel in the process. Maybe a bit of miss micro there for demuslim. Could have been focusing on the longbows. And the knights might head in there. You can see some pinging on the right side. Bit of a raiding action happening here. There are janissaries that should take care of the cavalry. The janissaries are fantastic against cavalry. They kind of melt pretty hard to the longbows though, if they do get into the action. The spears are almost down, but they are taking a lot of the knights with them. And the knights are actually engaging for the Mista. That's not what he wants. He did not want to engage those spears with the knights. Longbows do clear up a lot of those units. We do see elite knights coming in for the Ottomans. Holy smokes, those guys look amazing. Military school coming up here again for demuslim. Now this is interesting because I wonder if there's actually a limit to the number of military schools that can be built. We'll see. It's got 4 at the moment. I suspect there will be. Yeah, I think there's a limit to 4. Kind of makes sense. Imagine being able to produce unlimited units, or well, 3 units rather. Oh, that keep could be under pressure with the trebuchets if he sees it. Will Mr. focus fire on it? He does see it. Does he have the range on it? He should do. He might take the keep out before it's even built. Looks like there are units coming in though for the Mista, looking to try and take down those trebuchets. The keep is under pressure. There is an outpost there that will extend the network of Citadel's bonus. The Knights head on against each other. Elite Knights versus Elite Knights. Janissaries in behind. The Janissaries will do great work against the English Knights, but don't forget there's the attack speed bonus that they're getting. They keep under fire. Keep does go up for the Ottomans. Be a base point for him to be... Whoa, what was that? I think that was one and only. That must have been a Great Bombard. It was indeed. The Great Bombard makes an appearance here again today. Huge bombard takes out that keep with one hit. Well, obviously it was already on fire, but there's a huge amount of damage inflicted there. We'll be doing area of effect damage as well. The Mista's going to need something against that. And the question is, do the English get culverins? Let's just have a quick look, because that will be what he wants, and he doesn't. Going to have to opt for bombards instead, perhaps. But he does need to find an answer against the Great Bombard. The Great Bombard and Janissary combination could be pretty problematic for the Mista, but don't forget the Mista is getting free gold at the moment. Enclosures are working. The farmers farming gold as well at the same time. Mangonels fire off, trying to get some damage on the longbows. The keeper is on fire for demuslim, and that position might be under pressure here. There's still a Great Bombard unleashing havoc. Ooh, a lot of longbow go down there. That's actually quite interesting. The area effect damage doing a lot of damage to the longbows. The Knights head in, they're engaging. Janissary is just shortly behind them. Bombard's going to get another hit. Firing off a massive cannon does so much damage to the longbows. You see lots of dead bodies there. The Janissary is doing a decent job as well, and Mista kind of being pushed back a little bit here, but he's got so many resources to replenish, and there's kind of a common feature of Age of Empires 4. If you lose your army, how quickly can you replace them? And the answer today is if you're the English, you can replace them incredibly well. The same cannot be said for demuslim, though. He only has 200, 300 food in the bank. Population at 150 there for the Mista. 180 there for demuslim. Does have a healthier population. Does have two Great Bombards. But he's struggling on the food, so if the Mista does take in a cost-effective fight soon, then he might be able to push in quite heavily. There are 4 or 5 trebuchets there. And actually 4. Going to be starting to focus fire on that keep, you feel. In fact, he's got shattering projectiles. You can see the trebuchets doing a lot of damage to those janissaries. Villages or janissaries are coming out to... Actually, there are villages repairing the Great Bombard. You can use janissaries to repair the Great Bombards, and that is huge. Trouble is the trebuchets are starting to fire on the Great Bombards, but they're not taking them out. They're not being able to destroy them before they're repairing in health again. And they keep in that position. Not being there is actually making the Mista and the English struggle. He's trying to push forward with the longbows, but of course those won't do any damage to the Great Bombard. There's the third one out for the Ottomans now. Population rebuilding though for the Mista. Very, very quickly. Trouble is for demuslim is those trebuchets have such great range. They will be taking down the keep. And with that keep gone, this could offer an opportunity for melee units to rush in for the Mista. Speaking of melee units, he doesn't really have very many. Quite a lot of gold in the bank there for demuslim still. As we take an engagement in the middle, bombards firing off. There are 4 Great Bombards now. That's going to be a headache for the Mista to deal with, you feel. Take a look at the west. There's a lot of gold being brought in. Also a Moskva relic there, potentially. Let's focus back into the middle, because that's where the action is. 4 bombards absolutely unleashing hell. But the army numbers starting to dwindle here for demuslim some way. You get the feeling he's not being able to produce as many militaries as the Mista, not replacing as quick as possible. Or as quick. Despite having more villagers. Look at this, Mista actually pushing the army back, and the bombards are heading forward, but they're going to be relatively unprotected. There are 5 bombards there, 5 Great Bombards, the trebuchets firing off at them. Might lose 1 bombard now though. Does lose 1 indeed, might lose a second. I feel like demuslim's overextending here. He's fighting with his bombards, but they're going to be going down to the shattering projectiles of the trebuchets. Villagers coming out to repair. We'll do so in time. That's going to be even more idle time for those villagers. They could be gathering resources to replenish the army, but military numbers are really dwindling here for demuslim. 43 versus 32, and with the bombards going down, that's going to be a problem there for demuslim if that happens. It's keeping them alive though for now. The villager repairing is pretty insane. Now keep coming in that forward gold position. Going to be offering the demuslim a little bit more time. Trouble is, as time goes on, as the gold gets eaten up on the map, the English obviously have enclosures, have an infinite source of gold effectively. That could be the way that the Mista wins this game. 3 great bombards remain, holding the lines for the Ottomans. Another one joins the ranks. Interestingly, just the one relic for the Ottomans, at least in that mosque. He may have another one here. Yep, he's got 2 relics then, I suspect. Or a third, he's got one there on the right side as well. The stone wall's going there on this area for demuslim, making sure he can't get pressured there too quickly. He's going to focus everything down the middle. More trebuchets on the field for the English. Going to be taking down that keep soon if he can range it. In fact, he's actually going for the villagers, it seems, with the shattering projectiles. That's actually killed quite a few with the trebuchet. Bit of an engagement here on the right. Elite spearmen and elite Sipahi for the Ottomans. Just going to be protecting those great bombards, which there are now 4. A trebuchet has been added for demuslim. Heading into a bit of a stalemate situation, a long one on all type. Looks like the Sipahi going to head in on the east, looking to get some raiding bonus and damage. Keep now on the west is under siege from trebuchets. Sipahi do head in with the elite upgrade. They're going to looking to raid the farming economy. This could be a bit of a problem for the Mista. Doesn't have much in the way of defensive military here. But just get pulled. They're going to need to run to safety. A lot of them may be losing their lives. They went out to farm in the morning. Some will not return. And in the middle, the trebuchets do take out that keep. Great bombards. Holy moly, that's a lot of great bombards. There's a lot of resources being pumped into him. Each great bombard costs 1,500 resources. 600 wood, 900 gold, I believe. There's a lot of villages will be going down for the Mista, but does have 3 town centres to reproduce them from. 111 villages. Mista actually still does have more villages, so it's almost like demuslim's doing him favour. Kind of giving the population space for that military to build up, and so we're going to see a bit of a military engagement here again. At least Sipahi are going to go on the east to get more raiding damage, but the knights take advantage and they actually clear that up. Quite a lot of knights there for the English. Bombards, they need to be protected. There's a lot of resources there. Another 7th bombard coming out in the field. That's almost, I mean, that's going to be 1,500 times 7. So I won't do the math because I don't want to mess it up. Not live on stream at least. Seven of them. Going to be taking down that Wingard Palace pretty quickly. Here's the engagement. The trebuchets with the shattering projectiles with the knights on the front line. There are crossbows and defense for demuslim, but you don't feel like there's enough. Military numbers looking great here for the Mista. Look at the resource count, pretty insane. 80 military for demuslim, 94 for the Mista. But the trouble for demuslim is that if he loses a great bombard, he won't be able to replace it that quickly, at least. The army here for the Mista looking pretty daunting. Look at that bank of resources. 4,000 food, almost 3,000 wood. Has enough for almost 2 to 3 keeps here. Or two keeps really. That's the elite Sipahi trying to get some more raiding bonus and damage, but the knights will be more than a match for that. Sipahi can't really engage. They're not strong enough to take on knights. See, 6 trebuchets for the English. Sipahi going to engage, but they're going to be ripped apart by some hand cannoneers and longbows. Incendiary arrows in play for the Mista, pushing that back, and a lot of Sipahi do go down on the retreat. That's less than ideal, especially when you're struggling to replace them. Bit of a standoff in the middle though. Could come down to one big fight. Get the feeling though, the way this is probably going to pan out is that we take one big fight and demuslim isn't able to replenish the army, and then the Mista will push on from there. You see it keep going on the defensive position there for demuslim. Not a bad choice, not a bad choice at all. And the Mista looking to extend the range of the network of citadels with the outpost. Really manage it. That number of great bombards. Anyone's guess. As we head into the 35th minute of the match almost. Going to be more production buildings coming out for the Mista and the English. Going to be stables for now. Able to get some more knights on the field. Not a lot more going on. Looks like the Muslim trying to recap that sacred but that's obviously not going to happen. There's a lot of great bombards there for the Muslim. 7 of them. Just at the gold vein, that could be pretty exposed. There is going to be a defensive keep there on the forward position. And in the north, what is going on here? Because there are a couple of villages popping out. The Mista could get a big raid on the wood line here if he's just sent some units. I'm not sure if he is aware of it. In any case, talking of raids, this is a big raid and a half for the Ottomans. Heading in, charging in with 40 Sipahi, elite Sipahi. We'll be picking off villagers off of the wood and the food economy completely idle for the Mista. Will this be an opportunity for him to push forward on the front lines though? He doesn't mind. He's going to head forward with the trebuchets and a second keep, and that's a bit of a problem here for the Ottomans. Sure, the eco will be idle, but when you've got 7,400 food in the bank, the Mista will not care at all. Does send a couple of knights to deal with it though. But it is gold he'll need for the farms. He will need to farm that gold. Another keep going down. You can see the amount of stone is pretty incredible for the Mista. He's going to get a lot of static defenses. 2 bombards do unfold down the right side. A couple more coming from the north. And in the south. There was an elite Sipahi that kind of crept in. Elite Sipahi raiding, still doing so. They're heading towards trying to snipe out the siege. The keep gets deleted there for the Mista. Or does it get taken out? I think it might have got taken. No, I think it deleted it. In any case, there are a lot of elite Sipahi trying to take out the trebuchets. They're fighting underneath the keep. They're fighting underneath the network of citadels and boiling oil. And there are knights there, and that's not really a fight that demuslim could take. It didn't take enough of the siege out there, you feel. And the problem is for demuslim now is that he lost a lot of elite Sipahi. Now what's going to happen is these great bombards might go down to the knights, and if that happens, that could be the GG, because the Mista are really building up in the numbers of military, and that's a lot of investment going down. 1,500 resources per great bombard as the second one is about to go down, although it doesn't. It manages to survive. The knights will be heading deeper in. Might be looking to try and take down another great bombard. That should end up getting this one. We shall see. It might just survive. 6 HP left on that one. Does go down again. Now these great bombards on the right. Yeah, the knight numbers are really starting to build up here for the Mista. We talked about this. The ability to replace the army is just so much better for the Mista, with demuslim struggling on food, and Mista getting the left-sided sacred site as well, and cannoneers being added into the mix for the Mista. Trebuchet will be going down there for the Ottomans, and the siege is all but gone apart from one great bombard that's just popped out right now, but you just get the feeling it's not going to be enough, and demuslim might be tapping out soon on this map. We'll see if he can hold on for a bit longer as the great bombard does start to fire off. The Mista heading forward with his longbows and knights, and also hand cannoneers. The backing of plenty of trebuchets. 6 of them. Once the production builders go down on the front line for demuslim, it's going to be hard to come back. Does have 2,000 stone he could potentially invest in keeps. Something's going on the south side, not much, just an elite supply being annoying. The units really starting to focus fire on. I mean, the problem for demuslim is he's not being able to replenish the army. They're being trickled in, and that's not going to help. Not with the number of longbowmen and trebuchets firing off with shattering projectiles. This is a problem here for demuslim. Probably won't be able to keep up with this for too long. It's going to be running out of gold now. If they're running out of gold, it's going to struggle, that's for sure. The army numbers looking good for the Mista. It's looking very, very good, because he wins this game on all tide. Demuslim tapping out, and we are going to head into a 5th game, which I'm going to be super excited for. It's going to be Hill and Dale and Malians mirror match, so don't go anywhere, because we're going to be heading straight into that very, very shortly. Right, let's take a look at the situation with the overlay and the maps that we've played so far. The English triumphing over the Ottomans in this one. 3-1 for the Mista, so of course he will win the show match, but we do still have one more matchup. It's going to be a Malians matchup on the Hill and Dale map, which I am going to be loading into very, very soon. So just whilst I do that, if you guys are enjoying the casted games, if you are, do think about giving the video a thumbs up, as it really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. in any case, I'm going to be loading into that next game very soon. Going to be the Mista versus the Muslim on Hill and Dale. Malians matchup, mirror matchup. I don't think I've seen this actually before, this matchup. But we're going to be heading into that one very, very soon. Damn, this is clutch as hell. It has been good, hasn't it, Hans? That was good. Yeah, it was. Okay, it was really, really good. I mean, the thing about the Great Bombards is that it's kind of high risk, high reward, right? If you lose a Great Bombard, that's 1,500 resources. 1,500, so much resources that gets lost. And so you really can't afford to lose them. If you lose them, you really struggle. And trouble for demuslim, investing that 1,500 resources into Great Bombards meant he can't use it for other units. And the unit numbers just overwhelmed there for the Mista. As we hear the sheep, can you hear them too? You can't actually because I muted the game sounds. But anyway, you will hear them very soon because we're about to head in to game number 5 on Altai with a new biome. Check this out, guys. I'll be heading in there very soon because you're going to enjoy this one. I certainly am too. The new biome is going to look great. Let's take a look at this now. It's certainly looking very, very nice on Hill and Dale. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Malians show match. It's going to be a mirror match between the Mista playing in the east side of the map in red, as we said, as the Malians, and his opponent today in the southwest will be demuslim playing in blue as the Malians. We're on the new biome, and I for one absolutely love the aesthetics now on this biome. We're playing on Hill and Dale on this Malians matchup, mirror matchup. What will be really cool is to compare the build orders, compare the strategies. Of course, both players choosing the same civilization, so they've got the same units, same buildings at the disposal rather. And a barracks coming up for the Mista, an early barracks, going to be maybe looking to get some of those Donsos out. Those are spearmen equivalent, looking to pressurize his opponent in the Dark Age early on in Hill and Dale, and that's a bit of a ballsy move, I have to say, for the Mista, because the Hill and Dale is not a small map. There's a big, long desert walk that they'll have to go across. Let's just take a look at what actual biome this is. It's going to be the Sahara Desert biome. You'd love to see it. And just to mention in the chat that one of the players, or some players, will complain that it is a bit bright. Now, I have to say it is a little bit bright. I mean, I think if you're a spectator, it's absolutely beautiful. I think this might be a bit different if you're playing. I have to say the minimap is pretty difficult to read. The minimap in particular. So I feel like if there's a mod to make the minimap invert colors or become darker, then that will be ideal. I can certainly see the issue with the minimap. And the map itself, though, it looks incredible. You can see even the textures on the sand. I'm not entirely sure if I'm playing this in the super high settings of graphics or not, but even the settings I have, it looks so good. As we do see those spearmen coming forward, and the Mista will want those spearmen to be looking so good in the front lines and being aggressive and try and harass and cause some villager idle time if they can. And he's going to be able to harass. Now, one thing that's really nice actually, now getting Donso and spearmen out early, although they do have a long way to travel, the issue for the Malians is they're pretty exposed with their gold if they have to go for that gold pit, because of course you have to build the product. We don't have to, but building the houses is hugely favourable for the Malians, boosting the amount of gold passively generated from the pit mine. It does leave you exposed to this. It leaves you exposed to being torched by the Donso if you don't do anything in response. It's going to be this. Wait a minute. We're seeing a new landmark. We've not seen this before for the Malians, in terms of in the show match at least. It's going to be the Saharan Trade Network, and what better way to do it on the Saharan biome on Hill and Dale. It's going to be acting as a toll outpost that comes with defense arrows technology researched. So it's going to try and protect this area. It's going to need to, because he wants to keep those houses alive. All the traders and trade ships tax will generate food equal to the taxed gold at this landmark. All other toll outposts will generate 50% of taxed gold as food. Interesting. So a bit of a trading approach here going out for the Muslim. I don't know if he's kind of forced into that really. We shall see. On the right side, No real pressure coming out for demuslim, of course. He's opting for the... Well, he was opting for the feudal age. Well, he has opted for the feudal age, rather. Of course, he's already there. Mr. opting for the Don, so does mean he'll be a bit delayed, but he's getting huge amounts of value. It's causing demuslim to have to invest more wood into those houses. We'll be getting a meal now on those berries. This is great pressure, great value from just 4 Donso, already taking out 3 houses, forcing his opponent into the Saharan trade network. The Aristids are starting to damage those Donso, so won't be able to make any more progress. Let's take a look at Mr's point of view. He will need to get up to the next stage soon. He won't want to delay things too long, and he's going to be getting there soon. Yep, Malco, exactly, just right. 150 wood gone just there like that, and it's not even... Actually, it's going to be cheaper. So the houses for the Malians are 25 each because they only have 5 populations, so it would have been... Well, I see what you mean. So it's going to be... It is going to be 150 because, of course, he lost 75. And he'll have to replace those, of course, with another 75 wood. So it is indeed 150 wood lost there. But this is certainly a build order that I think is going to be used here for the Malians. Mr. showcasing it today twice in this show match so far. The Donso, the Dark Age Donso Rush. DDR. Dark Age. Dad. Dark Age Donso Rush. Dada. It's a Dada. Now the spears and the Donso rather. We head towards that wood line, but we do see a couple of archers popping out for demuslim. But what's super interesting is that if demuslim starts to take into archers to a significant level, he will be catching himself shortchanged because I suspect the Mista will then start to think about getting those javelin throwers, which are an incredibly effective counter to those archers. It's like demuslim opting for a market, maybe looking to buy a second town centre perhaps. We'll see. I'm to spend the gold though on the cattle coming out. It does now expand to a second gold pit or pit mine. Don't see that just yet for the Mista. Mista's still in the Dark Age. 6.5 minutes on the clock. Holy moly. He's opting for a lot of cows coming out. We will be getting to the feudal age at the 6.5 minute mark with the Mansa Quarry. It's toggled on gold. We'll be getting a passive gold generation of 75 gold per minute from that landmark, and if the game goes long, that's certainly going to help him. I mean, it's helping him right now as well. It's a bit of a boost. That demuslim doesn't have that gold passive generation income from that landmark, as we see the cattle coming out. They are harboring themselves in the cattle ranch, maybe producing that food passively. And as those cattle come out, those villagers on food that are on sheep right now will find a better job to do. Is it just me? Have you guys noticed something? Let me know in the chat if you have, because I've just noticed the lighting change within the game. That is actually pretty spectacular. I don't think I've noticed that in the game before. But the game doesn't look as bright as it was now that the players are getting into the feudal age. It does look like it's almost a time element. You can see shadows coming out here as well on the base of demuslim. So I really feel like Age of Empires 4 has become fantastic from a spectator point of view. That is incredible. As you see, a couple of javelin throws coming out will be the natural counter to the archers. I think the market is there just for some trading perhaps. I'm not entirely sure why he invested in that market. Was it a second town centre he opted into? Just have a quick look. It is indeed actually, yeah. So it looks like he bought that second town centre. Muslim opting to get a bit more of a booming economy. The Malians here on the north side for the Mista, staying with the one town centre for now. It's really interesting how we've seen the meta develop with the Malians, opting for the market to buy the second town centre. With the excess gold that they generate, as we see more archers coming out for demuslim, it's going to be in for a rude awakening because those javelin throws will be more than enough to take care of those if they're taking meaningful engagement. Yep, totally agree with you, Hans. The aesthetics are really improving and I'm really looking forward to this update. I really am, with Season 3 coming out and these 2 new civilizations. When they're fully patched, don't forget there's another layer to think about, ladies and gents. These civilizations at the moment, You can hear the villagers in the army, they're talking English, or well, they're saying the same words as the English civilization will, or do rather. Of course, that's going to be updated. The Malians and the Ottomans will have their own voices, of course. The developers haven't yet implemented that, but that's another layer to the civilizations that we'll see once the DLC does come out in October. So that's going to be super interesting. I cannot wait for that. Another layer of complexity, another layer of immersion to the civilizations. As we see, Palisade Walls coming up on the west side for demuslim. We can just give himself some control and some security. Mista doing the same on the west. Quite a few villages on gold there for the Mista, so maybe opting for the a fast castle. I haven't said that you do need quite a few villages on gold to be able to produce those cattle ranches and continue the production of cattle, because the cattle do cost 100 gold per minute. Yeah, don't come cheap, but they do give a lot of value because each cow themselves actually stockpiles, well, if you want to harvest them, they actually have 500 food per cattle. We'll be generating quite a bit of food here, rather. Just passively. Let's move on to the deer as well, of course. A very fast source of food income for, well, every civilization. Bit of engagement on the front lines here, but this is going to be archers versus javelin throwers, and just not really a fight necessarily that demuslim can take unless the Sofa get involved. Because the Sofa will try and take out some of the archers, but the Dons are in the position, they're in the right position there for the Mista. And these archers are going to be absolutely melting. This is not a great fight for demuslim in any way. Sofa trying to get some value with the villagers. The archers will go down to the javelin throwers. The Donso will commit to the chase. And Donso can actually throw a ranged attack as well initially when they're engaged if they're within range. A couple of Sofa, I think just 2 scouts and 1 Sofa going to try and take out some of the villagers, but might indeed get 1 or 2 because there is no textiles just yet. But the javelin throwers and the Donso will take care of that. Scout backs off. I think he just loses 1 villager in total there. demuslim does start to work on some palisade walls on the right side. Castle ranches really starting to build up in numbers. Interestingly enough, demuslim not really opting for that play. You can see a distinctively different style of play here for the Malians, played by the Mista. He's opting for the cattle ranch, cattle to passively generate food income. demuslim taking the pocket economies, the economy that's available there, the food sources that are there for free, which is interesting way of playing it, of course. Getting the food income for free, certainly probably a bit more efficient at this stage of the game, but obviously the Mista will be setting himself up for the late game and the mid to late game, making that transition to food a little bit less hard. Does have the berries that he could take as well. Going up with 17 villagers on that for Rimba garrison. He's going to be aggressive in the castle age. This quickly produces barracks and archery range units, 5 at a time, and going to be converting those units just to a pure gold cost with a 20% discount. And so you can see the Malians really heavily orientated on gold, but look at this, demuslim doing the exact same thing, and might get to the castle age at very similar timings actually. There it is. Just a couple of seconds separates them. Be interested to see what army they choose. That's really where the strategy lies in the mirror match, is the type of units that you produce. It looks like it's going to be archers here for demuslim. I really don't know how I feel about that. He already knows that javelin throwers are on the field. Yep, Hans in the chat does mention that it would be interesting to see how these civilizations fare up against the Holy Roman Empire. I'm certainly looking forward to that layer of the game in the Civilizations DLC, the fact that we'll see so many more civilization matchups, especially with the established civilizations, how they fare up against these new ones. See a mosque being built here for demuslim. Going to be looking to get some of those monks out, or imams rather I should say, really. Going to be looking to get the imams out to pick up some of those relics. Will we see Mista doing the same? We shall see. Yep, he is indeed doing the same. Now that he's in the castle age himself, transitioning to a 3rd pit mine. Or is that the 2nd for him? No, that is the 3rd for him. Continues to get those cows. And eventually Mista will not need any villagers on food. And that's the nice thing. Whilst you do get the free food here for demuslim style of play, does mean those villagers now are kind of free to do other things. So I do like this play by the Mista to get those cattle ranches. Going for a siege workshop. They're building up the units. Let's take a look at where the units actually are. It's a bit difficult to see on the mirror map, I have to say. Mirror map? The mini map. They're going to protect those relics, secure them, not let them get out of his grasp. He's going for veteran javelin throwers, and I did see demuslim go for archers earlier. He's going for veteran archers. This is not really what you want to see if you're demuslim. He did know about the javelin throwers being on the field, and may need to get some mangonels here, demuslim. That's kind of his only way to deal with these javelin throwers, you feel. Especially if Donso come into the field. If the Donso don't come into the field for the Mista, then some cavalry units won't be too bad for demuslim, but we do see a couple of Donso there. I did actually have a very, very brief, and I stress brief, conversation or message to the Mista during a Twitch stream. Just commenting on how strong the Donso and the javelin thrower armor composition can be. You can't counter it with archers. It's difficult to counter it with cavalry, and it's really only seems to be mangonels as a very nice viable option. Trouble with mangonels is your opponent can get their own siege or even horsemen, or horsemen equivalent to snipe them. There is a bit of an engagement here. Not enough javelin throwers to really engage against the archers just yet. At least Mr. Fields is waiting for reinforcements. The javelin throwers will engage now, and this is not looking great for demuslim. If he gets caught out here, if he has to take an engagement, the javelin throwers will definitely win this. It looks like demuslim's going to be activating that sacred site on the right side. The trouble is for the archers, they're kind of getting trapped, going towards the edge of the map, and they get stopped for a second, and that was a painful stop. The archers head towards the javelin throwers, and they engage, and I think demuslim's just going to take the fight. The trouble is, he's going to lose everything. The javelin throwers, as you can see, barely take any damage from the archers, hardly anything. Javelin throwers are more than one-shotting here, and they're just, there's overkill even. Javelin throwers take care of that. Archers go down. The sacred site does get captured though, but probably won't be for too long as the archers' numbers will start to dwindle. Javelin throwers going to be catching them on the tree, and a mangonel coming in for the Mista. The Mista going to be taking that out. Holy moly. Doesn't actually do too much damage with the mangonel, but just take a look at the animation. I really like the animation change for the siege, in particular the mangonels. I think the Mista's just going to ignore them. His archer's going to kill them with the rest of the javelin throwers he has. He can leave some behind. But now he's going to try and pile on the pressure. Does have a couple of javelin throwers on the front line. Again, archers. It's just the wrong choice here. And he's going to take into veteran javelin throwers himself right now to demuslim. But so many units were lost. Let's have a Sofa coming out, a veteran Sofa. The Mista going to be pushing heavily here now. And demuslim invested so much food and wood into those archers. And he's going to struggle now. He's actually banking up a lot of food and gold. I mean, it would be very greedy if demuslim is looking to get to the Imperial Age. It would be very greedy indeed. Don't think he can really afford to do that. Javelin throwers are going to be taking out the units. Mangonel's firing off at the units that are retreating as well. And the trouble is that mosque has 2 relics inside. That might come under pressure soon as well, as now Mista gains a lot of map control behind this aggression. A couple of Sofa are on the field though, so spears or Donsos will need to be built or trained for the Mista. Don't want to take the fight against too many Sofa. Doesn't actually have any. Let's go full veteran javelin throwers here. The Sofa are going to be menacing though. Without the Donso in place, that's an issue. He's just going full I don't know why. He's just going full veteran javelin throwers. He needs some Donso. But this is buying the Mista some time. He's getting sacred sites. I'm sure we'll be picking up some relics as well. You can hear the sound of it. In fact, javelin throwers are still, they're just massing up in huge numbers. It's the numbers game here. The fact that the javelin throwers in such large numbers is actually managing to take out some of the Sofa more than he probably should. Mangonels clear up a couple of more archers. Mangonel stays alive. Pretty weak though, or might not. No, I don't think that's going to be enough there. Sofa does die. The javelin throwers, and it just really starting to escalate here with this landmark, the Farimbra garrison. Things are really starting to escalate. Look at this, 5 units being added at a time. Another mangonel being followed up with 2 mangonels, javelin throwers here. There are some Donso as well, so this is going to be almost impossible for demuslim to push back because of the mangonel inclusion. It will force demuslim into springalds, but springalds, he needs mangonels of his own. This is becoming pretty problematic for demuslim, that's for sure. Apologies for the beeping. That is my alarm going off. That's activating. I can't stop, I'm afraid. It's going to be there just for a minute or two, so I do apologise for that, but there's the population limit now reached for the Mista. He's up at 140. We'll need some more housing. The javelin throwers diving in. And Donsos are going to be there. Just only 3 of them, but that would be enough to take a lot of the fight for these veterans so far. The Mangonels firing off at the back line. And it feels like the Muslim's going to lose everything here. The javelin thrower is going to be too powerful. The Sophic going to be dying here. You feel, and with this, the Muslim might tap out because he's under so much. He's under so much pressure. The Mangonels are behind, going to be taking out the buildings, and that is it. The Muslim does tap out on the Malians mirror match. Well, the Malians win, of course, and it will be the Mista taking this final game, this 5th and final game, to seal the show match with the beeping noise in the background just to ruin things. Do apologise for that, but that was an interesting set, an interesting show match. 4 points to 1. But don't worry about that beeping sound. It's just, we have a timer on my alarm, and so when it gets activated, the beeping sound goes on. Let me just see if there's a way that I can kind of cancel that. No, it doesn't appear so. I'm going to have to ride that out for a minute, but I do apologise for that. But anyway, it was a very good show match. I felt lots of units being shown for the new civilizations. I really like a couple of the build orders that were demonstrated. The Mista showing us kind of an early Dark Age rush aggression with the Donso, with the Malians. And then, of course, we did have a bit more of a traditional opening going for the feudal age into castle age with the Malians as well. The Malians do seem to be pretty strong. Hello, Twinson. Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. But it is. It's very inconvenient. The trouble is, it comes on at a specific time, and I know it's going to happen, but when you get into casting and stuff, I can't. It's right next to my PC setup, and I can't get rid of it. So it's one of those frustrating things. That's why I do a lot of offline content as well, because having kids as well, it's a bit tricky having kids if they kind of rush into a live stream. But it is with it. It will go off in a second, I promise you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed the casted set, and I guess now's the time for questions, concerns. If there's anything you feel like you would want to see more of in terms of content for Age of Empires 4, do let me know. And I will be casting, hopefully, the set between Beastie QT and Marine Lord, showcasing the new civilizations, hopefully soon as well. And I hope you guys like this new overlay as well. This is something that managed to implement. Hopefully we'll do more show matches in the future. Have a bit more of an increased production value without beeping in the background. Yeah, found the new DLC really exciting. New civilizations, new strategies, new meta, new games to cast. And it's been looking good so far. I love some community matches in the future. I saw you guys are having some kind of tournament going on in your Discord. Yep, so, okay, I mean, community games could be pretty cool, actually. I feel like I would want to do that a bit more in the future as well. That'd be fun. I feel like, in terms of the tournament, I'd say, is I don't actually have a tournament running for Age of Empires 4, but if you are all looking forward to... Oh my god, the beeping, it should be going... It should be stopping by now. Holy moly. I'm sure it'll go off any minute now. But anyway, yeah, in terms of tournaments, there is a Rising Empires tournament coming up. It's a weekly tournament. It's an initiative that's been set up really recently. We've only had 1 week so far. So I would really recommend joining the Discord. Maybe I will, you know what? Let me drop a link to the Discord right now in chat. There it is. The beeper's gone. Holy smokes, finally. I can not be annoyed by that beeping noise. Do apologize. But I'm going to drop a link to a Discord to join if you're interested in joining a tournament, a weekly tournament. It is growing, and I'm thinking about casting a lot of the games for it. It's growing, so it's going to be exciting, I feel. Let me just grab an invite so that you can join if you so wish to. I'm going to make it a permanent one because I don't want it to expire. One moment. All right, I'm going to drop that into chat. It means you can join if you wish to actually enter a tournament. It'd be cool. Sometimes, Nightbot, bad Nightbot. Sometimes Nightbot does that. Sometimes I made myself. Yeah. Kind of curious. Okay, kind of curious if the Ottomans could steal relics from HRE with the feudal imams if they advance quick enough. That's a good question. That's a good point, actually. There is some potential for it. I don't know. I don't think they'll be able to advance quick enough, though. Compared to the Holy Roman Empire, they're a little bit bonkers. Love some community matches. That could be a good idea. Nightbot, no chill. Yeah, Nightbot is to chill. But if you're interested in joining a weekly tournament, then there's a Discord that you could join. It's called Rising Empires, and happy to cast quite a few games, so that will be cool. In any case, in any way rather, I guess that draws a close to the live stream. I've had a lot of fun casting this set, a lot of good games, and I hope you guys enjoying the new DLC content I'm putting out there. I'm sure there'll be plenty more coming out as well, and I will hope to try and do more live streams, maybe some more community games. That'll be good fun. But until then, I would really like to say thank you for everyone who's watched, and if you're watching the VOD later, thanks for watching. I'd love to, to counter the HRE relics is actually really tough. You kind of have to just kind of accept that if you're playing against the HRE, you kind of have to accept that they're going to have a crazy castle age time, and there's just a way of trying to delay them access to relics as much as possible. It's too tough. It's very tough there. Don't even think about it even. Tourneys are fun. Would love a team game tourney sometime. That would be pretty cool. Love your castmate. Thanks. Keep it going. Hopefully we'll do. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think the thing that'll be looking really cool is this. It's going to be this. Going to be ranked. Team ranked. Oh yeah. We're going to have team ranked ladder for season 3 in the new DLC. You're going to have 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s. And this is going to be pretty cool. I think this is going to really add another layer to the game. A really community feel vibe. I mean, what I might even do is have some streams where I'm just playing team games and just people from chat can join. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I guess that brings the stream to a close, and I really appreciate you guys hopping in, and everyone's joined in live. Thank you so much, and everyone who is watching the VOD later. Cheers, I appreciate it, and I shall see you guys all very soon. You have to force your friends to playing Aoe4. Exactly. All right. Cheers, guys. I shall see you all hopefully very soon. And, I do engage with the comments usually on videos. So if you have any comments, concerns after the live stream, just drop me a message. No problem at all. And I will see you all very, very soon. Good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Take it easy. And see you all very soon.